And now we are in fact live.
Hello.
All right.
So anything any of us says will be broadcast to this very small number of current viewers.
Oh my goodness, it'll be there forever though. It'll be
That's
viewed millions of times in the future.
Yeah.
But
I do have to
looking
say,
for incriminating data on us.
it is difficult, I think, for us at IDGA, when we take our events and we then take the recordings and put them on YouTube, because they don't live forever on Twitch. So you can export them to YouTube with one click, and it's a nice feature, but you have to do it manually or else they'll be gone after 2 weeks. And we do that for all our events, and that's great, but they don't get a lot of view counts on YouTube, partly because they're more there for archival purposes, right? It's useful to have, and I think people do get value out of it, but say if they missed the event. But the event itself on Twitch, that's really the measure of success. So it is kind of strange to see like the only real record of a lot of these events is like the 3 views on YouTube. You know, it sort of hides the sort of truth of it, you know, in a weird way. Just because I don't know, we're so used to measuring likes and retweets and views and like those metrics, that in a situation where those metrics don't line up to what actually happened necessarily is kind of strange. I don't know. I think about that a lot because there's like Steam reviews or wish lists, like all those numbers.
Oh yeah, where numbers matter so much. Yeah.
Yeah, and if you're at like a lower indie level where like a lot of the data is noise. Right?
Oh yeah, and where you have to push for a game that is nominated for a Game of the Year award, can't get to 10 reviews on Steam for like the first 6 months that it's out. It's ridiculous.
Yeah,
these numbers are terrible. Oh yeah, Ben, yeah, welcome. If we want to talk about DDAB, yeah, we definitely want you on voice chat.
I think that was going to be our first game tonight, right?
You got it.
Cool. So, Lane, if you want to give Ben access to the event stage, then he can hop in at his leisure.
Okay.
My pleasure.
I'm testing Lane's ability to manage users on Discord, which is a power I gave him, and it's his responsibility now.
Oh, my finger is hovering over Kick, Ben, Burn. Let's see. Event presenter, welcome aboard. Oh, dude, that was fast.
Hello.
Just itching to get in the door.
Yeah.
Hey, Ben.
So welcome everybody watching online. I was gonna say, if you are interested in actually playing a game, on your screen you see a instructions at bit.ly/TC Playtest, and that has information on how you can join the stream.
Yeah, that is in fact a Discord invite link, and it will then forward you to the channel where all the instructions are. And so the way the moving parts, if you're not familiar with Twin Cities Playtest, the moving parts are we're streaming here on Twitch. We use Parsec to play the games, so they run locally on the machine here that I'm streaming from. But then everybody signs in through Parsec, which is like desktop, a remote desktop, but for games. And then in order to do voice chat live here, like Ben just hopped in, we have a chat room in the Discord that the invite goes to. So there's a couple of moving pieces. It's not quite one click, but it's definitely worth it to have you on and to have you chatting on stream with us while you're playing the game. If you'd like to play, but you don't want to be on mic, on stream, or later on the recording, totally cool. Just let us know in the events chat in the Discord once you make it that you'd like to play, but you're not interested in gabbing. In which case, we will just guess at your motivations as you move around in the game we're playing. Which is also great entertainment, so we're happy to do that.
And a piece of advice, too, if you want to play games, when you download it and start Parsec, try it with some other game first so you're not caught flat-footed.
Right.
Once we bring you into the stream. I demonstrated that last month.
Yeah. So Dale, you're joining sort of almost as like a co-host tonight. We're sharing a setup here. You can see indicated on the bubbles there, Dale and Mark.
We're quarantined
I couldn't be happier
together.
about this. Dale has good on-air energy. I'm loving it.
We're quarantining together because we're married.
It's true.
Oh no.
Gross.
Ew.
We wanted to set up a thing where like Dale was in the other room on her laptop or something, but it ended up just being way easier to plug in 2 microphones and just set it up this way. So I just had to change my name on Discord. So Ben, we're going to be playing Death Drives a Bus. Are there updates to be had? Is that what brought it back to us?
Lane just got in touch with me, I think like yesterday or the day prior, and asked what was up. And I did recently release, well, not recently, like a month or two ago, which feels like 3 years, but I did release it on Steam. So it is out on both Steam and itch.io, which is great. I'm super proud of that. As far as updates, there was a lot of kind of back end updates more than front end, just to kind of smooth out some of the launch things and get everything really kind of prepared for more of a professional launch, as professional as Steam can be these days. Who knows? But itch.io is kind of like the breeding pool for kind of getting ideas out there and getting feedback. But when you post it to Steam, that kind of feels like, well, this is a quote unquote real game now.
Right. Itch is the proving grounds. You can still sell the game, you can still make money, you can still be popular, but no one expects you to have like all your marketing materials lined up or your trailer ready, even if you do, and you did, I think, even at that time.
Oh yeah, I absolutely did. I don't know why I went to like a late 90s Magic card breeding pool for the but it's essentially just like, it's more of a place to put ideas and get feedback, and Steam is kind of like, well, now I'm invested in this product and I wanted to get it out there, and I'm super pleased to like release this on Steam. And like you said, with other games that have like low feedback but high like really good like feedback, it's like it has 6 reviews on Steam, which is great, and they're all positive, but it's just like I really want more people to check it out. It's only $1, which I think is fair.
That's criminally low price.
I was gonna say cheap.
Yeah.
I don't know. I had a friend actually ask me, and like with my music, like, why is your music so cheap? And it's just like, I just want people to like listen to it. Like, I just want people to play the game. I don't necessarily expect to become a billionaire off of it. I just like want people to like hang out and try it out and have fun with it. But at the same time, yes, it is probably too cheap for what it should be.
Well,
so my wife gave me crap about that.
Gotta bring home that bacon from Steam. Well, it's when you don't have a lot of marketing. I mean, like a criminally low price is a way to get a user base, and like it's a reality, and I think we all fight against it. But it is like, I don't begrudge anybody for saying like, I want people to impulse buy this. It's like the cost of a stick of gum. Maybe that will work. I mean, there are negative connotations, and then you have to deal with that. But at the same time, I mean, it's a balance, right?
This has been the $1 game guy. Ugh, I'd rather have this patch of gum. You have the ability, if people impulse buy that, to like get some of your songs in people's head, get people earworming that stuff and be interested in the next one. I totally get that.
Yeah, and one of the things Itch is good for is building a library of work. And so having cheap or very cheap or free games out there on any platform is a way to, even if the game itself is not huge, like it helps build towards the next project and the next project. And so there's some value in it. It is just ultimately kind of sad that you can't sell a game like that for $10 because it's worth that and more,
I mean, I could, but there's like some kind of gradient in there where the higher I set the price, the less people will purchase it, and then I just put value on more people playing it than the actual money that I get from it. Because again, like if I was a bigger studio that actually had guaranteed purchases every time I put something out, then maybe I would raise the price a bit. But at this point, I'm just interested in having people play it. And I think that it's it's a low price, but it brings people in. And another good point that you made is that since I like wrote the music for it and I have all this other stuff, like I get all of the residuals for it as well. So if people like the music and they go onto Spotify and listen to the music there, then it's like another entry point, if you want to call it that,
into the Ben Burns cinematic universe.
Exactly. Cinematic universe. So it's just kind of it's ways to bring people into the fold for all of the things I do, and not just necessarily the games that I do. So
it looks like we have Stephen McGregor.
Speaking of people playing your game,
that guy.
Although you're gonna have to fight Dale for it.
Yeah, that's okay.
You already played it. I saw you do it.
That's true. Very well. Stephen McGregor will be playing that. So you want to? Okay. I don't know any of the logistics words for this.
Dale,
you
you
want to
really
boot it up, Mark?
Dale, you were really
And-
excited to be like, all right, I'm gonna play Ringmaster now, and you're like, wait, I don't know any of the details.
I don't know the words. Okay, Mark, boot it up, and Steven, let's play that game.
Yeah, so Steven, hook up via Parsec. You've done it before, you know how it works. Dale, go ahead and turn that controller off.
You think I know how that works?
Just pull the batteries out.
I don't see Owlbot.
It should be Icebox.
Oh, Icebox. Okay, never mind.
Yeah.
Ooh.
There was a
Okay,
migration
Ooh.
some time ago.
Okay, that's fine.
All right.
I assume you can play this with a controller. 'Cause I have a
Yes.
controller.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh my god. I can't get over I feel like my impression is that you probably put this game out pretty fast, but how good all the little stylistic flourishes in it are. I really appreciate that.
Oh, yeah, thank you. I started this game in February.
Mm.
I had the general idea. Oh, thank you. They are adorable ghosts. They're like my favorite thing ever. But yeah, I had the idea for this game in December, back when I was still commuting to work, where while I was driving to work, I was like, what if there was a game where you had to
Drive to
collect
work.
ghosts? Yeah, well, yeah, basically, collect ghosts and deliver them to heaven or heck. And then if you don't, then you either lose the game. Originally, I was thinking the ghosts would go crazy and start destroying the town, in the old Ghostbuster game for
Oh,
the
yeah.
Nintendo. But in this case, it's just it turned into more of a puzzle game, where it's just you just have to collect the correct spirits and deliver them to the correct space. And it kind of just turns into this little ball of yarn that you have to untangle for each one of these, and it's really satisfying to kind of figure it out. And I'm really pleased with that. Look at that, you got an achievement already. Good job.
Good job.
Oh, this is not a stage. I see. Okay. Oh, that's why it's yellow.
Yeah, it's the tutorial, for lack of a better term. So yeah, I really do appreciate that, though. Kind of my standards for quality when it comes to UI and all this other stuff really, I have higher standards now from the Color Jumper or Extreme Mining days, where I want to have a good presentation for a game. And it's really hard and time consuming.
Is this why you didn't want to bring on your deck builder today?
Yeah, that I have started a new game and I'm very excited about it, but
Yeah, me
really
too.
there's not a lot of gameplay there at all right now either. The presentation is pretty off, and there isn't a lot of content yet. I'm still working on a lot of the mechanics just to build it and to make it kind of functional. But hopefully next month or the month after that, I'll be able to share a new game that I'm making, which is a cross between Into the Breach and Final Fantasy Tactics and Slay the Spire. Which
It's
is-
3 of the best things you could ever say. I
Yeah.
love that so much.
So yeah, it's essentially a unit-based tactics game, except each unit has a deck and a hand of cards on their turn, and so you're essentially it throws a little bit more randomness in there, aside from just getting the best ability in the game and then using that ability every time your unit's turn is up, which I think will be really interesting. So I'm excited for that. But
Is
yeah,
there a way to get the music to play louder?
I
I don't know if it's just me or not, but it's cutting out when other people, when anyone is speaking, including myself, I guess.
Oh, that might
It's
be an
probably
issue.
Discord for you,
Yeah.
right? It's probably Discord's doing its magic.
Yeah.
How dare it?
Viewers on Twitch shouldn't be hearing that, because they're getting the music from a separate source.
Then I don't get to hear the music.
Well, turn your speakers up, man.
You can go on Spotify and listen to the music all you want.
What should Steven be searching for on Spotify?
I think just typing "Death Drives a Bus" would do it.
Oh, nice. That's simple
I
and
don't-
easy to remember.
Yeah, I can't imagine anybody else has an album named "Death Drives a Bus."
You don't
I
have
can
to
post
figure
those.
out how to spell Ben Burns or nothing.
Yep, you can either type in. I think Ben Burns would bring it to my stuff too. Maybe not. I go under abstraction there. Yeah, so it'd be Abstraction is my normal thing. If you wanted to find my music on Spotify, you can go to abstraction.rocks, and that would bring you right to my page too.
Like
so.
ROCKX or ROX?
ROCKS.
Ah, like the music type.
Yes.
Not let's make everything.
Or like extreme mining. I couldn't resist a terrible joke. That's a weakness of mine.
I loved it, Lane.
So Ben, I wanted to take this opportunity to just say that I really appreciated all your insight that you gave me on this deck building thing, because I'm also making a deck building adventure game, and like I was telling Mark right before the show, I wanted to bring on a prototype. Hint, hint, I still am later in the show. But the only thing that I have over Ben in this regard is the courage to show a game that is completely terrible and like it just very much in the works.
It took some coaxing, but
yeah, it did. But my hope is that it's so bad that it will inspire other people with their like little partial projects to want to come on. But,
yeah, you should
I
be
love
showing
that.
your games off as soon as possible, y'all.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Once I have a game that I can actually show, like right now, there's like 2 things you can do, and they're both dev kits like things where it's
I
just like.
can't wait. It'll be so delicious to listen to Ben eat his words in a moment here, because I do not have a game. I have, but Ben, I am bringing on essentially a verb. I am bringing on how you play the tiles in my game and asking for feedback on that. So I'm trying to prototype little pieces at a time. You know?
Yeah.
That's good.
I just posted a GIF in chat where the current state of the game is where you can move and play 1 card, and that's about it.
Oh, okay. Well, I would say that you are probably
pretty
one
good.
more feature than I have at the moment, because you can actually like execute actions in your game.
Well, I'm excited to get to a point where I can actually have a level that can be played. I think it'll be a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm.
I just opened up that GIF, and those are the same adorable ghosts.
Yeah, I haven't gotten any art in the game yet, so I've just been
That's
using
okay.
old
You
art.
have some pretty good art to start with.
I do like those ghosts, though. I will use them in basically everything until I die.
it's like your version of Mr. Video, or who was it later known Jumpman, and then later known as Mario. It just appeared in every Miyamoto project.
No.
Yeah.
way.
Or at least at the prototype stage, that's what it is for you.
Yep.
So,
So what game is up next, in case people are thinking about, should I download the Parsec and get ready to get on?
So next up is going to be a game jam project called Dainu Dating Simulator.
oh boy.
Dainu, like D-I-N-U?
It is, of course, spelled D-A-I-N-U, much like the common idea of a waifu, Dale.
Oh.
And this, you are romancing dinosaurs. I believe that the story, I've just played it a little bit recently, is that
I'm
there
excited.
is a meteor that is about to hit the Earth, and you're trying to romance as many dinos as you can before it does.
If the world was ending, maybe that's what I would do if there were dinosaurs around. Romance them.
Man, is there feedback you're looking for from the game?
Any kind of thoughts you have would be great. I mean, I'm not looking for anything specific, but
Sure.
I'm always interested in how people like respond to it, and it's always fun to watch people kind of tease apart the puzzles, especially the early ones.
Sure.
So.
I guess I don't really have any major
That's
criticisms. It would have helped me.
Oh, I thought you were
direct
teeing up an epic burn. Like,
No. The game is great. I figured you might have like a direction you wanted opinions on. But
Okay.
I mean, kind of just kind of the general feel of the game and how it works for you. Like, that's really all that matters to me right now.
Okay, I have an opinion.
Uh-oh, yes.
There are not enough of those cute ghosts in every level, because
Ooh.
they're
They
all...
show up later.
Yeah?
Yes.
Oh, so I just
So-
have to play longer?
Yeah. So later in the game, I keep adding new mechanics. Eventually, you get to like other cars that block your way, and there are gas cans that refill your counter, and eventually there are the ghosts, which can be delivered anywhere. So they kind of end up as
Yay.
chaff they end up as kind of chaff on your board where you have to kind of go through and collect all these ghosts, but you don't know where they go. You just kind of have to figure it out. The passenger stats add a lot of charm. That was just kind of a random thing that I wanted to add. So the names in there are all my Patreon subscribers. And then the occupation and cause of death are both randomly chosen every time. So it can kind of create these weird little micro stories where, like, you have this scientist that died because he learned too much or something like that, and it's just like,
yeah, like what happened with this divine intervention on this vet
I was
tech?
about to say,
yeah,
that's a bug, I think, because I exited the level and went back into it, and now I don't have any passwords.
yeah, that's interesting. Is this the most recent build of the game? Like, are you playing this off Steam?
This is off of Steam, yeah.
Okay, that's really weird, because usually, like, restarting it should have wiped that out. I'll have to look into that.
Well, still Devin Schreier. Okay.
Yeah, wasn't that be a case of, you know,
if you hit A,
you don't shuffle
like
the deck
A,
here at the moment.
Yeah, A should restart the level too, I think.
Oh.
But that
I use
should
that
work.
quite a lot.
Yeah, there you go. That's weird that it doesn't wipe it out between that, though. Huh.
Wait, are they briefly ghosts before they become demons?
Maybe. Like, I have a default sprite, and I probably... Like, I think everything is a default sprite, and then once it's instantiated, then it gets, like, assigned. So, that's probably just me being lazy more than anything else.
I do have some feedback with the randomization that you're using to build the sort of scenery in the game, which is really, really good. But I would almost think that you might be better off giving each level a seed value and then just having them not just set to that value every time you load that level. Because I think players who want to come back to a particularly difficult one might appreciate it looking exactly the same.
That's not a bad idea. And that shouldn't be too hard to do. But yeah, right now it just kind of random. If it's a blank tile, it either chooses black or there's like a 60% chance that it'll choose a random tile out of the ones that are in there. So
yeah, and that saves you as the developer a ton of time because you build a framework and then you let the game draw the levels. But the randomization is not a player feature, so there's no reason it needs to happen more than once. And then, of course, that also gives you the opportunity of just rolling the die until you get one that you particularly like if you want to do a little bit more. You don't have to place every tile. You can just click, click, click till you like that one, and then that's the seed for that level, you know?
Yeah.
Steven?
That's not... Yeah.
What?
Go ahead.
Why aren't you picking up any souls?
He's doing math, okay?
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
this level in particular is fairly difficult. Like, there was a period of time between when I kind of finished the game and then I started working on getting it ready for Steam, and I thought that I screwed up and this level was impossible to beat because I couldn't figure out the solution. But I mean,
Yeah,
that's
I was curious. Like, you are the person who made Color Jumpers, so you're not afraid of having difficulty spikes in the middle of the flow. When I hit this level, I was honestly like, "Ooh, this is almost like a little bit off-putting." Like, I might put the game down at this point and forget to come back to it, you know, because it's just like so much harder than the ones before it.
Yeah, and there's one thing that I changed in this game that is different from Color Jumper is that there's no gates on the ways that you approach the levels. Like, you could go to the last level right away. I wanted to be very clear about that, and maybe I wasn't as clear as I should have been, where it's like, I want to make sure that people can play whatever level they want, and if they get stuck, they can just keep moving on. Like, I think that that's kind of a big accessibility thing for me, where it's just like, I want people to play the game. I don't really care how they play it, or if they want to go for 100% and get gold stars in every level, they can. But it's not necessary, and I think that that's really important for me at this stage.
So,
I feel with
go ahead.
The limited visual palette that you have, I think probably requires that you tell the player that. Because I think that when, like, if you think of like a Mario 3 overworld, you kind of know which levels have been beaten and which haven't. but you don't have enough variety in your tiles by design, right? That's a feature of the game. And so the player is not left to assume any information about whether a level is highlighted or not, or dimmed or not, because the game doesn't allow for that. So I think it would be very easy for players just to bring their own biases and say, oh, I'm not going to press right because nothing will happen and I don't want a fool made of me. You know what I mean? So it might be something you just have to be really explicit about.
Can we read that sign, Steven?
Yeah, so that's essentially
sweet.
the expansion of the game. So the original game had 30 levels, and then after that I added the gas cans and the ghosts. There's the ghosts. So they can be delivered anywhere. So now you have extra things that you need to pick up, but it doesn't really matter where they go. And then the gas cans are just there to push you in a particular path, but that's not always the most intuitive path.
Oops, all ghosts.
Oops, all ghosts.
Do it.
Okay, Ben, I got a question for you.
Sure.
With the randomized occupations and causes of death,
Yes.
how many of each do you have, and how did you go about writing those?
So I kind of just Googled weird jobs. And,
Okay.
and that one thing that I did, otherwise it was just kind of me sitting at a computer for like 45 minutes and just thinking of the goofiest things that are possible. And some real ones too, like vet tech is a real job. And
Yep,
there's
used
a
car
lot of other
sale
stuff.
is a real job.
Yeah, and Spelunker, and there's just like I
It's an
just tried to
unusual
be
one.
yeah, I just tried to be kind of funny and weird about it. And same with the cause of death. Like I wasn't trying to be like
Learn too
murdered
much.
or anything like that. It's just like
Yeah.
something fun and whimsical and that kind of gets you thinking about whatever little micro story that might have been happening to that person.
This librarian has too much beard.
Yeah. And
I think
like,
the
too
other
much cheese
the
is
other
another
brilliant
one.
thing about the funny is that everyone is funny, right? I think there's an argument to be made about like, oh, mix it up, have mostly normal jobs with a couple of standout funny ones. But I think there's a lot of value in having them all be interesting, because the game is kind of a chill. There's no time pressure, and so this gives the player an opportunity while they're thinking and they get frustrated to look up and enjoy this little piece of trivia
Veggie.
while they're sort of waiting to come up with the answer. You know,
Oh yay, gas can.
it's like tonally
Yeah.
it really works.
Yeah, thank you. I think that's kind of one of the things where it's just like it was a way for
Yeah, you got to take 6 to the end.
yeah, you can only hold 6 in your bus.
Steven, I think you got it, except that one on the very top. You
No,
you
you
didn't get that one.
There's no way to get that one. Once you get to that the yellow gate, you can't leave the yellow gate, so you have to get everything at the end there.
Yep.
So you have
So-
to path your way so you end up there.
How many are? 1, 2, 3.
So
There's 12, so you need 6 and 6.
I believe the answer to this one is to grab the ones on the top and then grab the ones
No,
on the
don't
bottom.
tell me, Ben. What?
I might be wrong. It's entirely possible that I'm wrong. I haven't done this level in like 4 months, so I'm just kind of sight reading it. But seeing that you can't go to the heaven gate more than once, like you have to do that.
That
You
be the
can't.
last one you do.
You
yeah.
can't just not get the ones on the left. That one on the top and the one below the heaven's gate, you have to do one or the other. You can't do both. So I
Yeah,
think
you
doing
want to
top
approach
six
it.
and
You want
bottom
to approach the
six.
final approach from the top, because
bottom,
you
yeah.
Oh yeah.
you can get that one near the
whole
gate
level
after you
for me.
crash through it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's the opposite of what I suggested you should do.
What? Oh, no. I purposely ignored what you said so I could solve the puzzle on my own.
Oh, no.
Sorry.
Oh, yes, you're so close.
Yeah, I think you
Go
got it.
down.
You just have to make sure that you get the gas can and pick up all these guys without breaking.
Don't listen to Dale. Do not listen to Dale. She
Yeah,
does
no,
not have
I'm
your
not
best
gonna-
interest at heart.
Yeah, if I go down, I'm not gonna make it. Does
No,
the
I think
car
you still-
move before I do?
No, you push the car.
I push the car.
Yeah,
Yes,
you
you
can push
Push
it out
it
of
off
the
the
way.
road into that gap.
So
Well,
you don't-
it just
What?
like if you run into it, it basically pushes it in a move, so you can push it. But you still, I think you still screwed up because if you go to the right and down, you're trapped.
Oh, no.
So another
Oh.
question. So
Hi.
if you push one of those cars into a sinkhole, do you get an extra ghost because you just killed a driver?
Oh.
That's actually hilarious, and I wish I could have done that. Where it's like you have
Cause
to,
of death. Got pushed into a hole by death.
yeah, as death, you have to murder people to get your quota. That's pretty grim, but
Well, maybe it's just that you have to get out of a dead end.
yeah,
It's not a quota.
that's pretty funny. I didn't think of that, but that would be an interesting mechanic to add.
Is there a max gas? Like, do you have to wait before picking up that gas can?
It brings it back to your starting total. So if your starting total was 30, then it brings you back to 30.
Oh, and it doesn't expire. You can just... Oh, no, you just reset the level. Is what I
Yeah,
said.
Let's skip this
I thought you moved over it. It was like, oh, it's infinite
Yeah,
gas.
how are you enjoying the last level, Steven?
this isn't the last level.
This
you
is
can go to
the last
level
one.
50.
This is Oops All Ghosts.
Oh,
It
okay.
was requested. I played Oops All Ghosts.
I'm very happy about
Oh yeah, can I stream it so y'all can see it in live without it being?
Oh, yeah, yes, please. Feel free to do
I
that.
didn't know if that.
That's a great idea.
Oh, yeah. I guess working with the delay is a little off.
Yeah, we're responding to stuff Steven did like 15 seconds ago. All right, there we go.
Death. I did it.
Visit Death Inc.
Yes,
Got
Death Inc. is
9 people.
Now it's a corporation. You do have to meet those quotas.
Yep. So that's kind of a place where you can see like how many levels you've gotten gold stars on, how many levels you've beaten, and how many levels you have remaining. So you have 43 levels left, and you got 7 gold stars.
I do have. I figured out a complaint.
Uh-oh.
It's hard to navigate the menus.
Yeah, that's on purpose. I kind of made it obnoxious on purpose.
But why?
I don't know, because I could. The game's $1. What are you going to complain about?
What about
The fact that
spaghetti?
I
Oh,
paid
see.
$1 and I can't navigate the menu. That's my complaint.
You could
No,
easily
you're-
add when you register a button press to move to the next one. You could
Yeah, I
suspend user input and then animate just moving tile to the next. So if it's 3 away, just click click click. You know.
I could, but I like that it's obnoxious.
Okay.
You're not
Oh.
wrong.
You're
You
back to
aren't
the
the fir-
hard one.
I will say, speaking of like quality of life things, when you're playing with keyboard, space bar is the action button in menus, and enter doesn't work, and I don't like that.
Ooh.
But on the menus, does enter work on the menus?
No,
Okay, I could add that. That wouldn't be too hard.
just because you don't use the menus a lot, so there's no reason to teach a player a new thing, you know.
Yeah.
But these
Yeah,
are
I
like
could have-
minor
I could-
quibbles, you know what I mean? Like,
Oh, absolutely.
The map thing is not minor.
This cheese tester rocked too hard.
Yep. Yeah, I honestly can't remember the solution to this puzzle. I'm sorry.
That's okay. I mean, I don't
remember-
know how valuable it is for me to play it.
I think the solution is you get you take the souls to heck
smart,
first.
smart.
I'm just guessing. I don't know the answer.
Okay.
I mean, if I'm right, then you could be mad at me. But I'm not guaranteeing that.
Also,
We're play testing the group environment here, Steven. Stop being so selfish.
Of course.
also another fun little not really an Easter egg, but a fun little thing I put in there is the angels always sit at the front of the bus, and the devils always sit at the back of the bus, if possible.
Playing their loud music.
Yep. So the
How
devils
did that
always
guy who rocked too hard get into
the hacker
heaven?
died to
Lots
punk.
of death funk.
Happened to my uncle. Can happen to you too. Cause of death holds my beer.
Yes. Shot easy.
Is there a noise associated with picking up stuff? Because I can't hear it.
There is, but it's fairly quiet. That's actually a complaint that I got about Color Jumper as well, where I made the sound effects too quiet, and I need to have it where it's like if people want to lower the volume on it, they can, but
Oh,
otherwise they should just have it. Yeah.
there are settings. We got music.
Yeah.
Aren't there sound effects and music sliders? Having worked on those, I think that's the case.
These aren't
Yeah,
sliders,
there are.
though. You can only
Yeah,
do
but for
low.
Color Jumper, there are sliders. But even they said at max
Put
it
it
was
on
still too.
on.
Oh,
Yeah.
SFX on.
you know, I think it's tough for in when I did audio mixing for like video projects, it can be really easy to, and for music stuff, it can be really easy to like not realize the universe of speaker configurations out there.
Oh yeah.
And it can be easy to be like, oh, this is, yeah, everyone's headphones are a little different or whatever, but this is gonna be close. I'm not gonna put a ton of effort. But then you realize how different it can really be, and it can make you very sad because you would have no ability to test for all of those scenarios.
There's somebody in the chat asking.
Did I miss
the
a
passengers chats? The passenger chat.
Oh,
the passenger chats add a lot of charm. How does that idea for it?
I think we answered that.
Yeah, we addressed that a bit ago.
No, ignore me.
You were-
I'm not a host.
You were busy thinking really hard.
Yeah.
It was.
One of the things
Yeah,
that's
I
really,
need
really
to-
cool about this game is that it does introduce the cars, the gas cans, the ghosts, and probably a couple other mechanics as well, I'm guessing. I haven't proceeded far enough to know. But I think the game does not set that expectation in the player. So once you play through the first, half dozen levels, and and you're like, okay, I kind of get where this is going. Oh, and I think the broken roads are maybe the first thing that
Yes.
introduced it.
Yep, that's the first mechanic that's introduced.
And I think it takes until you see the car that goes back and forth until you realize that there's more to the game. And I wonder if there's a way to give the player that expectation earlier without introducing those concepts earlier in the game because of the way you.
Having not known that like cars and stuff exist, with roads immediately was like, oh, there's more to this game than just that. So.
Yeah, and that's from level 7. So I think that works pretty well.
That's a consequence of it being $1 too. Is someone could start play 5 levels and go, okay, that was worth $1. I'm happy. But really, what you want them to do is play through all of it, and then tell their friends about it. And I think that might be.
Yeah.
I think I don't. You don't want like a ton more modal tutorial dialogues, but maybe even. You know how like in Pac-Man there's that little cutscene where you see all the ghosts, like just some sort of like visual indicator that there's more going on the title screen might be a way to tell the player, without explicitly saying what all the mechanics are, just to say there's more to it than the first 5 levels reveal. Because I think it's very easy for players to assume that's it and be happy with it, frankly,
Yeah, I would agree with Mark in that because like these intros are charming. So like one of the motivations to play or to play, I guess is I guess you could just like roll through all of the signs, right? But like you could put a sign here and then like go to the next level and then there's another sign at the end. And stuff. Even if you're not locked in, I mean, there are more signs so people would be like they could like subconsciously put their own barriers in. Say I gotta beat all these levels before I get to the sign.
Yeah, right. Checkpoints, kind of, psychologically. Also, the first tutorial is really explicit. It explains things exactly, and the introduced mechanics later are not. They're meant for the player to figure out, and I think that's an inconsistency. Both are good, in fact, but I don't know. I think mixing them might be a mistake.
Boy, we're just full of criticisms today.
It's playtest.
Yep.
That's perfectly fine.
Because I'm thinking, like, in that introductory tutorial, if it just had all the details, get them to the right place, and if there was just one extra tile card, one extra card that had images of the gas can, the car, and a couple other things, and the text was just, there's more to it, you'll find out soon enough. or you know what I mean? Like, then that would key to me, but then it wouldn't solve the problem I was thinking of, which is, like, when the car is introduced, I kind of do want the game to tell me exactly how it works, instead of me playing the level 6 times before I realize I can push the car. But I don't know.
Yeah.
But I only want that because the earlier tutorial is really simple and explicit, and so that expectation has been set for myself.
That makes sense. I'm still there's always things that I'm kind of exploring and learning as we go here.
Yeah, and you've said it. I mean, you've set the impression anyways that you'll make updates, but nothing's urgent right now. The game is complete. It's very robust.
Yeah.
It is what it is, and you're happy with it. But maybe you've put it on a list somewhere to improve later on.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm making sure that these things are written down. Yeah.
Yeah.
As a testament to how good this game is, I want to point out that Steven is still intent on beating the same level and has not skipped it yet.
He has been thinking this entire time.
And he insists on nobody giving him clues.
I was gonna say, I think I know how to do it, and I can give you a hint if you want.
No, I don't want a hint.
Okay.
He's insisting on making watching him a
This
little
is now
boring.
Playtest. It's 4 hours of me trying to get through this level.
But yeah, I'm really happy with the music in this game too. Even though there's only 4 songs, it's all made in Famitracker, which is a Nintendo sound chip emulator, which was a lot of fun. I love using Famitracker. It's something that I've used on and off for the past 4 or 5 years, and it definitely fits the style of this game more than any other thing that I've done recently. So.
Yeah. We used. I was toying with Famitracker at the last Global Game Jam because the team I was on was making an actual true-to-life NES game, and I was doing the art and music for it, and was like, okay, just write something in MIDI, and then we'll translate into Famitracker later. I'm like, okay, great. So I just picked a couple instruments. I knew I only had a limited amount of tracks, and I studied up a little bit because I hadn't done any NES-style music before or worked with Famitracker. And so I wrote some music, and I just had instruments that sounded vaguely NES-ic, and then I could just transfer that in. And then I was completely flummoxed by how Famitracker works, and we ended up not getting there, which was really disappointing. What I should have done is I should have dove into Famitracker first and just write it all there. And so I mean, obviously you had time to do this and figure it out. It seemed like you had experience. But did you write the music using your traditional tools, or it was all from
Nice job.
the sort of spreadsheet?
I was supposed to get the heck people first. So now I get to be mad.
Oh wait, I was right.
Could you go back 2 levels?
Yes.
I just want to see. Oh, is there no indication that you perfected that level?
Yeah, there is.
There's the little
gold
stars.
stars. Yeah, there's the gold stars.
Okay.
over
It just
there.
doesn't show up on here. Oh man. Okay, that would
It's
be
on the
my
banner.
first top lock it in feedback, which is that there could be like a little star next to the level.
Yeah.
Or even just make the level yellow.
That's good.
Oh,
That
that
would
I
be
think
adding another
a
sprite to my sprite sheet. It has limited space, you know.
Okay.
Wait, you don't do any
any
like lookup tables or anything like that? It's each
The-
sprite
the
is actually
whole-
colored those colors?
The whole game is on a 128 by 128 sprite sheet, aside from like some of the UI stuff.
Oh.
Yeah.
That was another limitation that I put on myself to see how small I could get the game, and I had a lot of fun doing that. I can actually post the sprite sheet if you want to see it.
Yeah,
Oh,
let's take a look.
definitely.
See your
but,
sprite
like-
packing techniques.
It's not
Did you-
hacking
did-
as much
did
as
you
just,
use Max
like,
Rex?
putting a bunch of them. What
Yeah.
there? What was that?
I was just teasing. Like, did you use Max Rex?
No. I used Affinity Photo, which is basically Photoshop.
Yeah.
Let's see. Let me see if I can find it. Is it under tiles? It would help if I was in the right project. But yes, I think that maybe putting a little bit more of a visual flair on there instead of just kind of showing it in the UI would probably be another good update. Let's see. Level. There it is. I can put it on my Dropbox real quick. That way everybody can make their
You're
own
not gonna
game.
make it.
Dang it.
There. So that 1-bit tiles.ping, that's the majority of the game. And you can see I have 4 open spaces for expansion packs.
Oh, Steven, you totally had it last
Ooh.
time. You just need to take a left instead of going down. After you collect the second to last.
No clues. No clues.
Yeah. I got it. Okay.
Hey, I want to play the game too, man.
I was gonna say something and I can't.
Yeah.
remember. Oh yeah. The hearing the music makes me want
Yes.
to like move to the beat. I realize that the
Do you want me to do a Crypt of Necrodancer update to the game?
No, not in that way, but just like if you move with the beat of the song, it'd be kind of cool if there's like a pulse or something.
No.
That'd be confusing. Though.
On
Like
behalf
you could get
of people with poor rhythm, I vote no.
You can get you get better fuel efficiency if you move to the beat. You only lose half a thing.
I don't know if I'd want to punish people with poor rhythm because I'm in that camp sometimes too.
Just
How is that possible when you write all the music?
I don't like write it. Well, I do write it with my hands, but not as much as like other people. I don't play the drums. Like I have the luxury of being able to edit the audio after I write it, so I can fix all of my mistakes.
I have
all right.
43. That's weird.
Dan, a couple of questions for you. Number one is, if you were gonna continue working on this game, what would be some features that you would just love to put into here?
Driving cars into potholes.
Fantastic choice. All right.
Yeah, I thought about it. I was thinking about maybe ice tiles, everybody's favorite. And I don't know if that would.
Right, you don't want to punish players with no rhythm. You just want to punish all players.
But yeah, I think ice tiles was one thing that I had on my list if I was going to do another kind of expansion pack with one or two more mechanics. But yeah, I don't really know. Like, there's a lot of things that I'd like to do with this game, but I'm not entirely sure where to go with it from here.
Are you okay? Do you have a feel for how difficult it would be to make procedurally generated levels?
I think that would be
because my
hard.
cockamamie scheme that I get when I look at this is having some sort of a mode where like you would have
Just
a certain amount of time,
randomly
like try to get through as many like procedurally generated levels as you could, that kind of thing.
So it wouldn't be. That's actually really interesting.
You'd have to write like a pathing program or whatever to see if it's possible. So you'd randomize it, and then you'd have to have a second process which plays the level before it presents it to the player. And
it would actually be pretty similar to how I designed the levels in the first place, where I create the correct path and then kind of screw around with it to obfuscate the correct path.
Hey.
So like the correct way to do that would be to have it generate like a correct path for 5 or 6 different spirits, and then what the hell was that, kitties? And then like take that correct path and mess around with it to the point where it's not easy to determine what the correct path is. So
yeah, the trick is how transparent would that process look? Like, would an experienced player know where all the extra bits are? You know?
I don't know. I mean, I guess
it's hard to know
on
until you see it. Yeah.
How to answer your question, it is possible, but I don't know if I want to invest the time into it.
Oh yeah, 100%.
But that is a super interesting kind of like an infinity mode to just like see if you could do that. That'd be really interesting.
Yeah, I mean, a big thing that we try to do with Vengeance is to try to like serve every human being who could possibly play that game and not really think about who our audience is that much.
Yeah.
And so this would be the thing that would be like 10% of the players would just die for it. It would be so good. Let them flex the skills that they've built up, and the rest of the 90% would just never know it was there.
Yeah.
Yeah, is that worth it? I've got no idea.
I have more input.
Sure.
It would be nice to know
ready.
what is each
Here it comes.
what each space is. So like I don't know how much distance, how many inputs I would need to take to get to like that to this angel.
I think that's partially trial and error. Otherwise,
right.
It's a little bit of counting, I guess.
I don't feel like I have the option to count is what I'm saying, because I can't tell based off of the sprites how much road it is.
Oh, like little grid hashes, so you can see like
interesting.
how many.
Yeah.
I feel that's very specifically not a problem in this game. But I think that's just how, I think everyone just looks at it differently, right?
I think
I definitely want to be able to count.
I think this has a lot to do with Steven's playstyle of, I'm going to keep my bus here, I'm going to make a plan, I'm going to count out my plan, and then I'm going to execute my plan. Whereas mine is more like I'm going to go this way, and then sort of make a plan as I go.
No, I see it, what you're saying, but what I'm saying is like I can very easily count that this stretch of road is 10 long. I feel that the sprites give me enough information.
Well, not everybody
Steven feels
can
like they're
count
not
to 10.
giving.
So, you know.
Yeah, I can't count to 10, Mark. Don't tell people about that.
But like Steven is saying that like the sprites don't give him enough information to know where like how far, you know what I mean?
Yeah, how far they tile. And,
right. I'm looking at the other parts of the grid. The fact that the outline has almost like a grid quality to it, and so I'm kind of counting that way rather than looking at the road tiles only. But that might just be like not something other people do.
Yeah, I believe it's very heavily based on playstyle. And I mean, that's the other reason why I don't have any kind of punishment for failure, where it's just like if you do it wrong, then you have another chance to do it right. So
I do appreciate that. I also appreciate the restart level once you've realized you made a mistake. So I am looking at the time now, and it is 6:50.
We're getting close to.
When would we like to switch over to the next game, which is how do you say it, Lane?
Dainu dating simulator. Yeah, we could do that anytime. I think that Der Raffelmeister is ready and waiting to.
All right. And if you want to play this game of Death Drives a Bus, or Steven wants to continue to play, it is $1.
it is $1
Steam?
on Steam and Itch.io.
Yeah,
And I
share
can
that
post
link in
those
the chat,
links in
please.
What if we wanted to give you more than $1?
Then go
On
to
Itch you
Itch.io
can,
and pay however much you like.
There we go.
What about
Nice
becoming
plug.
your Patreon so that you can be a dead person?
I guess I will be updating the game again at some point. So I don't remove people. I just kind of add them to the list, because I feel like if you're a patron when I'm working on the game, you kind of deserve to be there, and it would kind of suck if I was just like, no, you're not in here anymore. So yeah, becoming a patron, if I work on the game again, I will update that list. So yeah, it's patreon.com/Ben_Burns, BURNES. And I primarily do music, but when I do release a game or any other things, I try to include and thank the people that support me.
So
this is amazing. I can be a happy little tree here. I love this. These tier names.
So I am looking at the people in the chat who are watching and asking, hey, does anyone want to play Dainu
You'll get it.
dating simulator? Otherwise, I will take it.
Yeah, that sounds great, Dale. I think this game's going to be perfect for you.
Okay.
Meanwhile, we can get Joey in the event stage here. I'll give him permissions to jump on.
Oh,
yeah,
great.
and I will back out. Thank you guys so much for checking out the game. I'll be in chat for a little bit, but I got to start making dinner and stuff.
Oh, that's awesome, Ben. Thank you so much for joining us.
Okay.
Oh, this game looks really cool, though. I want to make sure I watch a little bit of it.
Okay.
Take care, guys. Thank you.
Yeah,
How am I playing this, Mark? Am I playing it with the keyboard, or am I turning on this controller?
That's not a question for me. Lane might know.
Lane?
I'm sorry.
Joey?
What do I know? I'm trying to talk to Joey here.
Okay.
Is this a controller game or a keyboard game?
No, this is a game jam game, Dale. You got to use your mouse and keyboard.
All right.
Hello, sir.
So
Greetings.
noted. Hello, Joey. So
Hi there.
tell us about the game jam that this was created for.
Yeah, so this is the product of a game jam that a bunch of housemates and I worked on last year, and that we have been gradually adding more features and polish to over the course of this year. So, yeah, excited to show it off to you guys.
So I saw just like the very starts of this game at the jam itself. How much have you guys been working on it after that?
We towards the end of last year, beginning of this year, had put in a bunch of extra time, and then kind of gradually, it was something that I went back to once in a while to like polish and just improve the UI mostly. But yeah, it was mostly a big weekend project that we worked on.
I have so many more questions for you, but why don't we explain what's going on screen?
Yeah.
Okay, so I messaged a bunch of people on my Dainu cell phone dating app, and now I'm on a date with Tracy, who says, "Hey!"
Yeah, you matched. Congrats.
I couldn't wait, so I got the party started without you. Hope you don't mind. So what'd you do this weekend? Okay. I am going to say played a lot of sports. Oh, that's cool, I guess. Uh-oh.
Oh, Tracy didn't like that.
Hey, server! I know. I'm feeling like a mimosa. Okay. I would like a margarita.
Yeah.
A few of those to my order. Tracy is going to be way too expensive if she's going to be my Dainu foo.
Your Dainu?
Your Dainu foo. I like that.
I cannot say it.
It's like almost deliberately intended to not be pronounceable.
Well, it worked.
Hooray.
This is the second game in a row tonight where the developer is like, no, it should be awful.
This is our vision. No.
Okay, so what was the prompt for this game jam?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I'm trying to recall to specifically how we got to this idea, but I remember we towards the beginning of the jam used a random word generator to get a few words as prompts to have our theme be based on. And we landed on dinosaur, and I think we landed on something related to demise or ending or something of that sort. And so naturally that kind of ballooned into this idea of, well, the meteors are landing, and the dinosaurs have to you have to try to romance as many dinosaurs as you can before the age of dinosaurs is over. I don't know how we landed there, but it was what we decided. The one of the biggest reasons we landed on something like this is because it would be a great way for a lot of people to focus on writing. Since we had some people who weren't really familiar with game development and development.
That is so smart. That is so smart because I so often get the question, and I think that this is one of the most common game jam questions. Is I would love to join you. This seems so fun, but I don't have any skills that I can contribute.
Yeah, it can be a bit demoralizing, and since it was a lot of for most of the people on the project, it was their first time in a game jam. It was cool that we were able to find these different areas that different people could focus on. Another area was sound. Recording and editing.
Is this what you're really
Hold
saying?
on. Belly just complimented me. Yes, I can tell you're so with it. Or is that?
Neil, would you stream your screen if possible?
Oh yeah, that'd be great.
So Joey and I can see this in real time.
I'm gonna hop on.
Sounds good. Thanks for joining us, Steven.
Actually, we shouldn't be streaming it directly into Discord because that's going to eat up a lot of our upload.
Okay.
Impact the stream.
Okay.
I will talk about it slightly after it happens. How's
Well,
that?
I will
Sounds good.
say, based on what I've seen of your play, I would spend a little bit more time reading these profiles because A, they're super entertaining, and B, they help out with the game, as far as I can tell.
I have 6 seconds left.
Oh, by the way, I love the unnecessary amount of significant figures in the clock up there.
My score is 0. Ouch. I should have just accepted I should pay for somebody's drinks. Okay, how do I start over?
Oh no.
I believe there should be. I've almost seen here. Okay, if you just click on the word restart.
Oh yeah.
It is a hidden button. Not my greatest
Gotcha.
UI feature. But
Okay.
Anyway, yeah, that was one of the less experienced developers was working on making the timer. and they wanted to add their own personal flair into the timer. So we decided.
Dude, I love it. It's so stressful for no reason. It's fantastic.
Well, it's kind of perfect, actually. I mean, this may just be a roundabout benefit, but just like with Space Invaders getting faster as there are fewer on the screen because of memory or CPU clock speeds, as the timer gets smaller, it reveals more of those figures and they move faster, and so it does introduce additional tension. So it is a feature.
About that. But yeah, I really like that. That was definitely intentional. Yes.
But I will say, when you were advising, like, please read the profiles, the game even with the lackadaisical pace of the timers moving at now, I would not be motivated to read any of that because I only have limited time. Like, the game is telling me that I need to speed read or skim, otherwise it's a mistake. Like, that's what it's now that might be a dynamic you want from the game, but if it's not what you want, if you want people to read, then you probably need to pause the timer.
Yeah, because there's a clock and what appears to be color text, and really, like, the gameplay here, and this is just from my 5 minutes playing it before the show started. It seems to be really, Mark, you're trying to stretch your brain to remember as much of that stuff as possible. So it really feels like a extemporaneous speech event, and you're just trying to cram as much as you can. So it's kind of fun in that regard. But yeah, I agree that usually having a clock and a lot of text next to each other does not pair super intuitively well.
Yeah, it kind of works in the conversations because, and that's again, I'm not sure how much sense of it, but the clock, it's a count. It's like find true love before you're all wiped out. Like, that's a fun idea, and so the idea of it being like speed dating and for reasons other than speed dating is normally fast, means that you would rush through these conversations, and that makes the gameplay leverage with the theme. Now, when it comes to reading the profiles, I still think you should pause the timer there. One, because it's a lot of text. Maybe you'd make it less text, perhaps, but also because you'd imagine you maybe read those profiles before.
Ooh, well, I
in terms of the fiction of the
agree
world.
with you more. I think that trying to read through those and hold on to as much as you can before you go into these is a key part of the gameplay. I think
you're
that's
into
where
it.
all
Okay.
the tension is.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, 100%. Yeah, if you could pause on those, you would basically want to take a screenshot of all of those. It would basically be you would be incentivized to spend as much time reading as you can.
Yeah, that's actually the whole idea of the timer is kind of the biggest part about this game that I have very mixed feelings about it, I guess. Originally it was kind of one of the key design decisions we made, was that we want to go for this experience where you are very much trying to frantically read and retain as much information as possible.
Yay, I got one!
Hooray! So that can happen. But I feel like the timer, from what I've seen other people play, it's typically been the timer's typically made it so that they kind of just skip through everything and then are kind of sort of haphazardly guessing, more than I would kind of like.
Less text might work for that, because not just because it'd be more likely to read, but when I see all that text, I'm like, oh, I'm going to speed through it and I'm not going to get anything from it, so I might as well skip it and not get anything from it, because then I'll have extra time. I think that's my guess as to what the motivation for skipping it is. Not that it's too much. It is ultimately not too much text. It's just that I feel like under the constraint, I won't be able to digest it, so why bother?
Yeah, that's definitely very fair. I wonder if reducing it to bullet points or something would have been.
I mean, even just breaking it up into 3 paragraphs instead. You know what I mean? There's a visual element to it also, perhaps. That's going to require some testing, perhaps, or maybe just some instinctual, once you know what it does, then you can decide. You can make choices about it.
That makes sense. One of the dinosaurs here, we specifically, the person writing it wanted to put as much information as possible, and so we actually had to change the text size just for that profile so we could fit everything. But yeah, having that be the case for every profile probably is just kind of unnecessary. Whoa, you got 2.
Yeah.
Oh
but
my
now
goodness.
I'm running out of time, so I better get this.
Yeah.
Okay, no. Okay, personal trainer. Okay, great. Oh no. Okay. Optometrist.
Yeah, so I guess as you play more, you would get better simply by remembering things from previous playthroughs, right?
Yeah, that is true. And I also don't. I kind of have mixed feelings about that as well, right? Because
I can imagine.
Yeah.
it's ultimately is like a it's a story game where
10
you're
seconds.
experiencing this single
What?
story, but we're also kind of trying to make it a speed reading game, right? And
Oh,
those kind
no!
of those ideas
Oh,
kind
you
of
got 2
conflict.
points.
I was
Hey,
so
that's
close.
a lot better than usual.
Yay! I'll take it.
Better than usual.
Okay, so I'm gonna play another game of this. Does somebody else in the chat want to hop on? Let me find my mouse. I'm using the wrong mouse. Having 2 mouses in front of me. Life coach. Okay, whatever.
Yeah,
Chiropractor.
so Joey, I guess one way that you could make it a speed reading game would be to sort of randomize the text, but then obviously that comes with a pretty big trade-off of you lose a lot of the individual character.
Yeah.
That puts you in a tricky spot. I'm not sure if there's a elegant solution out of that.
You also want to think about what the goal is of having the time constraint, which is to put pressure on the player to read quickly and remember as much as possible. But you could mechanize it in a different way. So think about reading a profile, rather than relying on the player's ability to read, rely on the character's ability to read. So you'd see one paragraph, and then you can say, okay, that's enough. I'm ready to go to start the date. Or you say, no, I want to read a little more. And you click next, and you get the next paragraph. But then the timer moves. So the game itself isn't timed, but you have a currency of time that you can spend on doing things. So if you want to ask questions, you can say, it asks you a question and you can give an answer, or you can say, tell me more. And then saying tell me more is a risk-reward scenario where it takes more time, but you're more likely to get the answer right as far as dating is concerned.
Or maybe you could even check back, bring your phone back up and look back at the bio. Or
Exactly
something
right. You can have a lot more things for the player to do to spend that currency on.
I like
and
that.
then you can have it becomes a puzzle, a much more of a puzzle game, right? Because then you can have I'm not sure how the game is scored currently, but you can certainly have systems where you can win the person's heart, but if you win it stronger and faster, you can optimize your play, but you'd lose the real time timer, and it depends on how valuable you think that is, and how because as a chill, cute game, maybe the real world time pressure and your actual beating heart might not be the right match for it, even though it is obviously a successful execution in a lot of ways.
Are my
Maybe
eyes
your
playing
long-term goals are
pretty
different.
Has Dale earned back some time while she's been playing?
Yes, if you do a successful date, you get, I think, 30 seconds or so. That's something we definitely should have made more apparent, though.
What is the thematic justification for this?
That's a great question.
See,
The power of true love and safety.
yes,
Yeah.
yes, exactly that.
Dale is killing it right now. This is amazing.
Yay. Okay.
Yeah, you already got 3.
Yay.
Wow.
I mean, you wouldn't even have to go that far to justify it in the narrative, but you'd have a fun time doing it. Love in the air makes the Earth move faster. You know what I mean? And so it outruns the asteroid. It's utter nonsense, but it's like Mario logic. It doesn't make any real sense, but it works anyway.
That would fit in pretty well with this game.
Oh, okay. Yep. Okay.
And I mean, it could also be it could even be the mission. So you could say our dino scientists have determined that the asteroid's coming. Everyone start speed dating because that's how we can slow down. And it could even make for, I mean, there's an inevitability that's part of the charm of the game, but you can certainly make the goal to generate real romantic feelings, because that's how you will save your society,
Right. Yeah, no, there's a lot of potential here. We
CEO.
kind of
Or
wanted
SEO.
the overall vibe of the game to be just stuff happening and half making sense.
Yes,
but,
I love that.
But I do like the idea of kind of making this into something where it's like, okay, there is an underlying mechanism that kind of there is some logic to why things are happening the way they are.
Yeah. It's ultimately the difference between a joke and a story. You know,
Ooh,
is
yeah,
that extra bit of investment, and it can still be silly, but make the player care. And I think you're really close to it already. You know.
So yeah, another kind of like big design thing we added to the game was the like 2 different types of profiles, right? Because there's Dainus that you go on dates with, and then there's a bunch of Dainus. Most of the profiles actually you like don't match with, right? And so the idea behind that is, well, you kind of, it makes the player kind of wonder whether they should be spending a bunch of time reading a bio for someone they're not even gonna
Date
go on a date
succeeded.
with, right? Hooray!
Ooh, yeah, right now it's seeming like a real strong strategy is to just like swipe left on everybody except for the one that you have memorized.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so like I think the thing we had in mind was like a player spending a bunch of time and like, oh, okay, this dinosaur is divorced. Maybe that'll come up. Maybe I need to remember that. And then it just being a waste of time because they don't match them. Kind of like a darn it, gotcha moment.
Yeah.
And yeah, I wonder. I think it more than anything just kind of like adds more, just more stuff to the game, which is cool. Like more.
I gotta say, from my like
Content.
first timer perspective, I really enjoyed that. Like I really that like really. So I would say that like it very much enhanced my enjoyment of maybe the first 3 times that I played, and then I imagine after that it would get like less and less enjoyment out of that because I would have stuff memorized after that point. I would know that stuff doesn't matter. So in terms of providing a really nice like bite-sized experience of like getting to know the game, understand it, and like come to grips with what the game is asking from you, I think that stuff makes it extremely enjoyable, like 10-minute experience. But in terms of stuff after that, I think that's when you'd want to like start, considering like whether to either cut or start shuffling that, or start having like it be randomized so that sometimes the dinosaur asks a question that relates to that, so that you can like extend out the gameplay a little bit.
Yeah, and actually, I remember a conversation we had during the original Game Jam weekend was, what do we want a play experience to look like? Like, is this a game where we want to have people come back to? Or is it a game where it's like you show it off at like a group event with a bunch of people and you like have people take turns playing? And I think we kind of settled on the latter. I think I prefer it that way. I think it's the way it is now, at least, it definitely works better for that. Because it is such a memorization heavy game when you do multiple playthroughs.
Yes.
One of the people who worked on it with me boasts the like world record speed run time, which for a memorization game is wonderful. But yeah, would definitely need to like think about making some like pretty big changes if we wanted to have it be more catered towards a lot of play sessions for one person.
Yeah, I mean, I think that like for my money, there's so much like value that you can get out as a game maker out of stuff that's like, here's a thing I made. I'm showing it off at like a little event or something, or at like a convention or something, and it's meant to be just a tiny bite-sized experience. I think that in terms of like creating artwork, for example, like I think that is a perfectly fine place to land. Obviously, like you think very, very differently when you think about like what is a commercial product. But I think that this is still, in terms of just putting a huge smile on my face for like 10 minutes, I think it's a big success.
Yes.
Correct.
Yeah, for sure.
So is there anybody else who wants to jump in and play Dainu Waifu? Or do you want to move on to the next game?
Yeah, for sure. I am just talking with Zach Gilbert about Flailure at the moment.
Well,
And-
Joey, if you want to stick around and play Flailure with us,
Yeah,
I'd
I'd
love
be
to
happy
have
to.
you.
I have not used Parsec before.
Oh, cool. This is fun. Okay, so, well, it's useful, I think, to explain it, because I think the first couple of events we had, nobody had used it, and it gums up the works a little bit. But like, it's also incumbent on us to make sure that we can always get new people in, and so every time we need to, we'll see how good we can do it, how fast and how effortless. Because I'm nervous that viewers are not excited. Viewers, you can let us know. Okay, so Joey, you want to download Parsec from whatever parsecgaming.com, I believe.
Yep. Got it.
And then you'll create an account there, and then once you do, you can make a friend request from the Friends tab, add friend, and add IGDATC, which is the account that we are playing from here. And then I'll approve your friend request, and once you have that, you can then go to the... I'm giving you all this information now, but I'll restate it once you get to those steps. Once you are a friend of IGDATC, there will be a Computers tab, which will then have the list of all the computers of all your friends, and at least the ones that are online. And then you'll see Icebox, which is the name of the machine that we're running from. And then you will request access to that, and then I will approve that in real time, and then you will have a sort of remote desktop in the Parsec window. And it will be the games that you'll have access to, the applications are whitelisted, so there's no opportunity for you to mess around with the machine at all. It's a pretty good setup they have. That's why we don't just use other remote desktop services, because Parsec is designed specifically for games, and it's very useful for that. And then you can use mouse and keyboard or a gamepad, and what happens is when you use any gamepad on your machine, Parsec will then send me an Xbox 360 controller, so which is just the most common one. So it doesn't matter what you have. Any game we play will read it as a virtual 360 controller. So button prompts will be assigned to that. It's the one kind of interesting thing about that, but it also improves compatibility in that case.
Could I get that the ID to send a friend request to again?
Yes, IGDATC.
IGDATC. Got it.
Zach, welcome aboard.
Hey, how's it going?
Going fantastic, dude. It's so good. It's so good, by the way, to see you back and active in MSP game dev. Always a treat to have you around, and glad that you're not entirely retreating into the hermit lifestyle.
Yep. I had a short break, had to release a video game. Got a little distracted.
Yeah, well, we're setting up some tech stuff here, so would you mind talking with us a little bit about what it's like to release a game in November of 2020? I mean, it's been kind of a slow news year, so there's nothing much else going on. What's going to distract you?
Yeah, I mean, it's very stressful. There's a lot to it. And I don't think I did a great job at it. At this point, I think my game is flopped for mostly just advertising reasons.
Oh man, I'm not saying in terms of it flopped. What I'm saying is the problem with sort of having a response to 2020 of I'm just gonna go heads down and work on my own projects for a while. As awesome as that is in some ways, it also means that, oh shoot, you're just not as much of a visible presence everywhere, and so people just don't know what you're putting out.
Yeah, no. I think the hardest and the most demotivating thing is that I sent off to, I'm not gonna say a lot of press, but a fair amount of smaller indie press, and have gotten absolutely nothing. Sent it out to a lot of streamers, didn't get it really anything. It's just that I think, and I'm talking as somebody who hasn't got this right, so disclaimer there. I think that the real issue is if you don't have any hype or press and nobody knows your name, then nobody's going to play your game, nobody's going to check it out, and so it kind of feedback loops into itself. Is that there's enough games that get a little bit of press, you might as well focus on those over the ones that have none. Because I think I don't know, I'm pretty happy saying that Flailure is a good game. It is a fun game. Almost everybody who's played it has had a lot of fun doing so. The wonky controllers have put off a couple of people.
Yeah.
It's a weird, and some people just aren't about that. And so but pretty much everybody else, even people who are really good at video games to people who this is one of the first games they've ever played, really enjoy this game. So I feel like a lot of the lack of press is not because it's not fun, it's just because it's not it's not really being played, and it's also not interesting in a way that would make a good story. Like, it's got a cool hook, but it's not got a cool hook that would make a good headline.
Let me ask you this, Zach. So one side question quick is, this game is a multiplayer game, but correct me if I'm wrong, does it have network multiplayer?
It does, yeah. If you hit start and host game, I can jump into the one you have going right now.
Good God, you are a badass. I did not realize you put that in. That is fantastic. Here, Steven and I are working on a couch co-op game that has no network multiplayer in 2020. Very, very smart. But like that is so sick. How much of a pain was that to put in?
Incredibly. It was not worth it. But at some point we're just like, well, it's almost in there, so we gotta finish this. But it probably added a good year or two to the development time.
Oh, wow.
Well, having gone through that exquisite agony, you are now like 15% more employable to any, right?
Yeah, probably greater than that.
It was super good learning experience. Anyway, there are 4 reasons like that. I'm really glad I did it. Just as a learning experience, as a commercial product, it was probably not worth it, especially since Steam's version of Parsec, the couch co-op or whatever they call it,
yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Remote Play Together came out right as I finished all of this, and
brutal.
Yeah. Hit start and do a host game, and I'll jump in.
One thing about having your own network multiplayer is I played using the Steam one, and it does have a bit more of a delay than like native network multiplayer does. So
it does.
It's
it is
a little bit better.
It is worse. I put both into the game just so that people who only have one copy of it can play with other people online. Using that, you just have to hit a switch to enable it. It's pretty easy. So
well, let me ask you a little bit about it.
It cost me nothing to put it in.
We used Parsec here for this event, which is very much almost identical to how the Steam Play Together works. I have not personally had a lot of success with Steam Play Together. It seems a little bit more wonky to set up and stay consistent. But that said, I've also like hacked away at like Parsec's idiosyncrasy a little bit more. So it might just be that they're just slightly different in the way that they kind of mess up a little bit. And so, but regarding the like sort of actual native online multiplayer, I don't see anything on this in the game that tells me that it's available to me.
For the remote play together?
No, for actual network play. Like I don't see anything right in the title screen that says that's possible.
Oh, yeah, that is something that I have considered putting like a prompt in there. That is a little vague and confusing.
Is this because you host a game via the Steam client? Is that how it works?
Yeah, that does. Well, you have to hit host game first. So you do have to get to the menu. I figured that like it's more clutter on the main screen, and that like if people get frustrated and realize they can't play online, they'll try and quit the game anyway. So they'll have to go to the pause menu, and then they'll see it, which may be like a bad thought there.
Oh, here it is. Okay.
I just pressed the start button.
Yeah.
Or wait, the menu button, the hamburger button.
Yeah. So your title screen has this. It's this. It's diegetic, right? You can play inside the menu, and then you physically go to the place to start. And so, as a player who is loading this up for the first time, I would never assume that another menu existed, because the game is being diegetic in that sense. And so I wouldn't expect that pressing start would do anything until I start the game.
That's fair, and I agree with that. It kind of went the other way, where it started out as a totally menu-based lobby and a menu-based game, and that really sucked. It wasn't. It's I don't know, like you get into like a blank joining in lobby, and it's boring. It is unexciting.
Yeah.
It just kind of hurts when like you could be doing stuff while you're waiting for people, and like it's an interesting lobby there. So like. Eventually we threw the lobby in, but we still had a bunch of like UI, and I kept cutting UI out, and like basically the UI in the start menu is just the stuff that like I didn't feel like I could put into this and like not make it total chaos.
Yeah. One suggestion I would make is you really can only do two things here. You can go to the right to start the game and go to the left to leave the game. Why don't you just have another hallway for settings and another hallway for network? And then it can load up the thing.
Yeah,
because that can fit. Because there's so much charm and value to what you've got here. I wouldn't advise you undo that in service of the extra features that you can't totally make work in this setup. But you can certainly just add another path for the menu player to go down.
Sure. Yeah. No, I didn't consider that. Just have that open the menu. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you could also maybe press start still also works, but I'm just giving you sort of maybe an easy fix that wouldn't require you to do a lot of redesign,
There was a variant of that at one point, and it had a lot of issues, so I kind of scrapped that. The premise was there's in the main game there's when you die you get to become a giant wall that goes and crushes the level. And one of those came out that left side there that actually held the menu in it.
Yeah.
And that was really hard to maintain. It's a while since I made it, so I'm trying to think back here. But yeah, I think that was the issue is having, like, every time we needed to change the amount of things on the menu, we had to make more space for it. And it just became, like, an iterative nightmare where, like, it made the game better, and, like, it was cool and made more sense, but it was just super hard to keep up with every change, and made the nightmare of menu design much harder than it already was.
Right. Yeah, and that's always the case with game design, right? It's like you have to say, oh, why don't you just... And it's like, but there's like 1,000 little reasons that you'll never understand, person who didn't develop
anything
this game.
that comes after the word just should always be ignored. They don't understand what you're dealing with.
Yeah. Well, we got our 3 players in, 2 via Parsec, 1 locally here. Dale is playing. Why don't we get a match going? Now that it looks like you all have a handle on the controls.
Yeah, I do want to say I really like it when games do this and let me just kind of mess around and learn the controls.
Yeah,
especially
a game like this, where it does require you to learn a little bit. It's not complicated. It's just not something you've done before. I just got
thrown out the front door. How do I come back? Oh, I'm a horse now. Oh, that's fantastic. Let's go.
I gotta say, these characters, they have the body shape of gummy bears.
There's no button prompt for this because I didn't think it mattered, but Y, or whatever the up variant on your controller does also change your character if there's not 4 people in there.
Oh, okay. Okay, I'm the crocodile.
Okay, so
let's
quick
get
question.
started.
Let's go. Let's do it.
Okay.
Was any part of this game inspired by Super Chicken Horse?
Surprisingly, no, literally none of it. That's like the only one that like I did play it, I guess, like part of the way through development.
Yep.
But like I don't know, the characters were already in by that point, and
more of a great
it's a very cool game.
Kind of thing.
I really like it, but yeah, that one didn't.
Oh,
It's a lot of
Yes.
Duck Game and Gang Beasts is kind of the.
Oh, Gang Beasts. Okay, that was my second question.
Yeah.
Okay. So I've got a big question. Oh, and you can see which one the king is. That's such a good feature. Oh, this level is hell already. I love it. Dude, okay, so the problem that I think this game has is that it doesn't have the like Pepsi challenge test going for it. Where the first like 5 minutes that I ever spend playing this game, I'm always like trying to figure out what the controls are. It is like somewhat challenging to figure out how to play. Oh, I'm not alive.
How'd you die so quickly?
I don't know how I died. I don't know why I'm not in this stage.
There was a moment where there was a one of the mace balls just floating free without a character attached to it. That might have been Zach, if that sounds familiar, might be part of what led to Lane not being in this level.
I think there is.
I don't know who it was, but
I've seen this every once in a while. It's one of the bugs that we had before release that I was just like, yeah, well, don't have time to figure it out. Can't
there's
figure
always,
out what's causing it.
It's not a game if it doesn't ship with bugs, so you're good.
If somebody complains about it, I'll go fix it.
Yeah.
Hey, I thought I was dead because I died super late last game, so I totally am gonna take this one on the chin as long as I get to play next round. Oh, I love these like little dual moments here. It's like so tight right now.
Yeah,
It's
like
so
this game
nuts.
was trying to
Nice
teach me
job, Crocodile.
something, but I was too stupid to learn it.
I get to be the wall. Get
Oh,
ready,
so-
Rocco.
It didn't register a winner because the lane was
He's alive somewhere.
technically alive, yeah. So that's good because then that means he comes back
The
here.
winner
so-
though, it made the
Yeah.
the winner. Okay. Well, I'm happy with that.
I really like this. Like, I like the matches move quick, and I like that you go from stage to stage.
Yeah, I
Um,
got somebody this time.
That feels
Not
unfamiliar to
cool.
me, but I might just not be familiar enough with this genre. But I don't think I've seen that really, at least in this way. It seems very unique.
Better kill each other fast.
I'm trying really hard! Yay!
Oh, I love the wall breaking. It's so cool.
It's definitely something that doesn't show up in a lot of
the trampoline ground.
really games in general, just because it's
Yeah,
like
ow, die!
conceptually a bad idea.
Please, no.
Just because
Going
like
out, can you?
with some exceptions of some networking stuff that I shut off after the levels there, all the levels are just kind of there.
Right, right.
And because our game is pretty simple, it doesn't
Ah!
have a huge performance impact. Again, other than the networking stuff that we had to go take extra care to shut off because the moving platforms eat up a surprising amount of bandwidth to stay smooth.
Oh, thank you for having a upper bounds on the like rate at which I can spam A to make the wall come in.
Yeah.
Like after playing Elementals, that is a huge relief. I am not nearly metal enough for that
No, actually,
this
the
three?
reason I did that is because I hate it when games make me just
game.
furiously
Why is
mad.
this ball rolling towards me? No, stop, please.
I like how you can just stop the wall too. That's really satisfying.
Yeah.
Oh,
Like I
yeah.
had some agency even after I'm dead.
Yep. It just
Thank you for letting us have that final duel. No, Croc, you have to die.
No! No!
Yeah, there's sort of a kingmaker quality
Yeah!
to it, which is cool.
Mhm.
Okay,
and you don't
here
get
we
the
go.
points for the wall crushes. There is a little bit of like meta for like if
Oh,
you crush
no.
people with the walls,
It's a good move.
you
Now I can
stop
turn it.
people from getting points.
Yeah, yeah.
But,
so if you're, mhm.
But it's really just so that like players who are out can control the pace of the game. Where if they're bored, they can end the match.
Yeah.
Oh, they're all in a castle.
That's really cool.
Do the stages you go to, are they randomized, or are they all in the same sequence, or do you choose? a
Yeah,
sequence?
they're totally random. The stages are all made, but
Yeah,
it places them in a random order, and then we have a builder that took a while to not have it build into each other.
Yeah.
Stacks them all up.
I like that a lot. Like they're I mean, there's one thing about having a million levels. You always want more, but I like the fact that playing them in a random order gives the game a replayability, that moment of surprise, like which one's next, and then you quickly change your strategy, like as you get more and more familiar with the game.
Look,
So-
I'm jumping rope.
Rather than just say a random level, sequencing them randomly, I think has a lot of benefit towards increasing the value of each stage. So I like that a lot.
That will never get old.
I can't wait for to like get good at this like sort of like grappling hook and then pulling myself up
Yeah.
like
That's
a
really cool.
ninja. Like I feel like I'm like 5 hours of practice away from being able to do that reliably. It just seems so cool.
I also
I'm just
love
sitting
the.
here. Look,
I love the
it's-
effect you see where the flail will get like stuck like on another floor, and like you're in there's a floor in between you and the flail, and you're trying to just retract
Yeah.
it, but
Yeah.
No.
No. Okay, we're starting.
You know you're not playing yet, right?
Oh, crocodile.
I will say
No,
another bit of
stop,
feedback here.
stop,
In that little
stop,
start
stop.
game area, players should not be allowed to die in that little corner.
I
Oh, and,
disagree. And that's a feedback I've gotten a lot. Like,
Yeah.
people have told me a lot that, like, people
It's-
should be immune
It is
when you want to
funny.
start the game.
It is funny. I get it, but like, there's a certain amount of trollishness that you might want to control for. You know.
Ooh.
Then
My
maybe-
premise is that if you can't stand peacefully with 2 other people in this corner for 5
Oh.
seconds, you probably shouldn't be playing with them.
Yeah, but doesn't the game encourage you to not do that? Like, that's not a judgment on the player necessarily. Like, there's going to be the trolls, like I was saying, but also even someone who's just having a good time knocking around. Like, it asks a discipline from a player that the game never asks of them again.
So Zach,
I see what you're saying there.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yes, I've got the silver crown, the most valuable possession.
Oh, is that because you tied the last match?
It's
Yeah.
'cause I died, yes.
I like that a lot.
you can
That's a really cool detail.
Oh, so how does the crown system work? Like, you have the crown if you have the most points overall and are going to win.
Yeah, that's the current winner. They're worth more points. You can see the little point numbers that pop out of you, or you get 3 points for a gold crown, 2 points for a silver crown. Everybody else with 1 point.
Okay, crocodile, it's time. It's
Oh no,
time.
my flail!
It's
It's
time.
on the other side.
It is time.
It's on the other side of the wall.
God, the way the world collapses is so satisfying, dude. Oh, I like so many things about this game.
crap.
Oh, let me unstick my thing, bro. There we go.
Oh, good dodge there.
So I have a general Steam question. This could be just something that seems like a worst practice that nobody should ever do. But like, I noticed that Joggernauts captured a lot of like me and the McGregors playing and like other people who make a lot of noise when they play video games. And they used that in their advertising, and so did Hyperdot. I kind of wonder, like, is there a reason why more indie games don't capture the audience reaction when they play?
You mean as part of the actual game itself, or do you just mean in the marketing?
In the marketing, because what? Oh shoot, I got that stuck in Joey, or in Dale. In the marketing, because what I'm thinking is like what this game really needs, I think, is just like some sort of social proof to be like, yes, this game is worth the like 5 minutes it takes to understand the controls. It is as fun as you think it could be.
Like,
And,
it looks silly,
like,
but
I
look at these
wondered-
people being silly, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
I can tell you
Silly
exactly
like
why
that.
that's not more common. I know exactly why that's not more common, which is that most developers don't have the opportunity to get 4 humans in a room together. You know, like
Especially
even when they're
now.
making a game like this.
Okay, so Zach, every
Challenging
once in
this
a
year,
while,
too.
you see a number and like a 3 just floating around. Where does that come from?
When you get the murder, that's how many points you got. The color
Okay.
is the color of the character who got the points.
Is that
Yeah.
your total points? How many points you got just then?
Just then.
Haha, read your side. I might be last, but I'm first now.
Get me off the road.
One of
Can't I
the
kill you when it counts?
One of the design decisions that I'm still not 100% sure on personally is at the very end, we never actually tell you how many points you got because I feel like it kind of
That's
doesn't
cool.
matter.
It doesn't matter. I just want
Yeah.
to know if I'm not last.
So you describe that as a decision. So what's the value of not showing? Other than it doesn't matter whether you show it or not, is there what's the value of the choice of not showing it?
Because one, we've designed the system around being a little unfair to people in the lead, where in the lead, like, you're in an objectively worse position, especially in a 1v1, because if you win the first round, the next round you're worth 3 points and they're worth 1 point.
Yeah.
So in a situation where like you're doing like 3 rounds, like you're like better off if you were to lose the first round. In like
Right, that's
weird
the meta,
situations
right?
like that. Yeah.
Wouldn't surfacing more of that point information all throughout the game be a way to encourage people to engage with that meta?
Yeah, but I
No!
don't want people to engage with the meta. I want
Well, then
people
why
to...
is it in the game then?
It's a catch-up mechanic because like this game isn't meant for like I never saw the competitive Flailure scene coming up. If it did, I would cater to it, but I just didn't see it happening.
Sure.
The reason this is in is so that everybody has a chance at winning, even halfway through the game when somebody has
Yay!
just destroyed the whole time.
Right,
where like
right.
somebody in like 3 good rounds can come back and win the game.
And you see
the more you point this out, the more dangerous good players get.
Right, but this is the case with a lot of party games where, like, I mean, yeah, Mario Kart has the blue shell, but if you're way better at Mario Kart than your friends, you're still going to win most of the time. You know, and so I don't know that I would be so scared of that. I think the game could still survive as a party game and still allow that meta, even if there's not really necessarily a competitive flavor to the game. I mean, I'm someone who doesn't really enjoy games when they get too competitive because then it just becomes about spreadsheets. But
spreadsheets are awesome.
But if it's in the game, I think players should not be hidden from them. I think because you will have a small fraction of people who want to engage with that mechanic, but then are denied the tools to do it, and that feels kind of frustrating, perhaps.
Yeah, and that's part of why I'm still a little conflicted about it. I don't know if it's the right call on there, because like I, is like a pretty competitive player myself. Like I kind of want to see this, like how many points did I get? How close was it?
Yeah.
But like,
no,
I feel like with this game in particular, it's just better to move on real quickly and like not have people dwell on how many points and stuff. It's a close match every time. You don't need to know how much you stomped by.
Yes,
thank you very much.
I don't like this. Wait, why is the cow number 1?
I don't know.
I died.
To a cow.
Oh, here I come. Here I come. Here I come.
Oh no! Dang it! Oh yes!
Oh, good bus.
I really enjoy all the debris, how it kind of piles up on the screen, but also falls off the front of it. Like,
kill me, Dale.
It's
Kill
a
me,
really
Rob, kill me with the point. Yes.
It looks very satisfying.
I did nothing to that. That is
really? It's just a consequence of the physics.
Unreal Engine has a auto break tool that will like take your mesh and break it into pieces.
Oh, really?
And I broke the meshes that break and I let them physics out. And that's just what happened.
Oh wow, that's really impressive. Like as a, I mean, you kind of got lucky that it worked so well, frankly.
Yeah.
Oh no!
All the glass.
I have one bit. It's a bit of wonky feedback about the glass in particular. The glass is the most fragile in that it doesn't slow down the flail as much. But when a player is between the dead player's wall and glass, I feel like it shouldn't kill the player. I saw that happen in an earlier match. Like the glass, you know what I mean? Like be the one exception I think to the rule of being trapped.
So like if you're pushed into the glass, it should break the glass.
Yeah, I don't know how much people are going to notice that, but I feel like I would expect not to die against the glass, whereas I would expect to die against certainly the stone walls and maybe the wooden blocks. Although I think either way would make sense to the player, whatever the truth of it is.
Yeah. No, you're right. You're right. And that is something that does intuitively make sense. I agree with you.
But I mean, I wouldn't call it. I mean, that's a choice you make. I don't think that's a problem you need to fix. Do you know what I'm saying? Like that might be the way I would do it, but I wouldn't call it something you have to change.
It's more on a technical end. That is a surprising amount of work to do.
No.
My code is really bad for the depth crush walls. There's just a hitbox in there.
Oh no!
And it kills you.
I can't do anything.
Sorry, Dale.
That's okay. I think the problem is that I don't learn.
No!
Where I was getting second place a lot before, now I'm getting last place like every time because I did not learn stuff.
You're a natural second place finisher.
No, now I'm a third place finisher because I did not learn anything.
No, I'm saying naturally.
Oh yeah, and then when other people have practices, then I'm out.
Yeah, that's just a way for you to justify it. To say like I'm pretty good without any try.
Pretty sure I'm last.
Yes.
Wait.
Come on.
Yeah. Wait, we tied. Oh my gosh! I'm amazing!
Dang it!
And then I somehow managed to get up here.
Oh, thank goodness for the scene transition. That's the only thing. Joey, that moment where we were both trapped in that super tight space, that
was beautiful.
It's kind of a
Art.
unique feeling. I don't think any game makes me feel as claustrophobic as this one.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Especially since like just someone being close to you doesn't necessarily make it that much easier to hit them.
Oh yeah, especially if
But it feels like it should, so it feels like they're about to hit you.
if your ball is like stuck in the wall behind them and they're like looking at you like it's so scary.
Yeah.
I'm in trouble. I'm in danger. All right. I definitely want to do one more of these. Oh,
Yeah, I'd be down.
how did you come across this collection of animals
Right.
for the game, by the way?
Well, I started obviously with the
Wait,
the
I don't know
giraffe.
who I am.
Oh yeah, duh.
Yeah.
Oh, that cow is
Wait.
dynamite, man. Cow is too smart.
That was the last one. Yeah, I don't know. Like I started with that one, and then the horse came next because it's kind of like a giraffe, and it's really easy to model in that case. Just make the neck a touch shorter and change the colors and add a different
I'm
mane.
stuck because I don't learn.
Scale the wall like a champ.
And then I made
Joey.
the alligator because it kind of got a similar face to a horse.
Oh, it's my favorite.
And then a cow because I was running out of interesting colored animals.
This game does a really good job of like having those different animals with the same basic body type, and they still feel unique.
No. Yes.
Yeah.
Justice.
Like it doesn't feel like a skin on the same model or anything like that. It really feels like each of them makes sense for exactly how it looks in a way that feels like an accomplishment. That's pretty cool.
Oh, the crocodile.
Yeah. No, I did do like they all have their own separate meshes and slightly different physics and
Crocodile friend, where did you go?
Well, they all fit in that same aesthetic, like silhouette. I think is the achievement that like.
Oh wait.
It can be very easy to have made them either too different, and then there'd be like some sort of gameplay implications. Or...
Dorothy, guess what's gonna happen to you?
Okay, maybe less a rare bug than I thought it was.
Oh, now I'm in. But,
Now I'm gone.
Crocodile friend is totally gone, and then the horse and the cow keep swapping out. Oh, that's kind
Oh, the crocodile
Oh, no.
died somehow.
Uh-oh, I want to kill you before the wall does.
Yeah, and that's what's supposed to is like if you ever get out of bounds, it's supposed to kill you. Which is weird that it
Who's
wasn't
gonna
doing that
escape?
before. And it's weird that this is continuous. So
now we're all here.
I wish I could see if you got a point for that. That would be. Oh! Woo, woo.
Zach, I appreciate what you were describing the sort of like you don't want people necessarily to the crowning at the end is kind of a fun surprise. And
Yeah.
so I would almost say never tell anybody what their points are. Just tell them what the system is, and then they can try to keep track of it, but no one's going to be able to. And so no
I guess,
number
like,
because
Oh,
I
I
like
like the
communicating the points is like with those pop-ups that tell you how many points you got when you. I don't know how
There's
else
coming.
to put that out there.
well
It's
I
like
mean
it got deflected in the air. Oh.
well I like the idea that when as the wall, because there's that slight parallax effect when the wall crushes two players,
No,
you might not know
please,
if
I'm
one
not
of them
buying
even
that.
survived or one of them, or if it was a tie. I like that a lot. I mean,
Oh.
given what you said earlier about how you want the party game feel to be preserved.
Oh, I died to you as well. Dang.
Post-mortem death.
Oh no! There's everywhere.
Oh, this is my favorite level.
Oh
This is
man,
the
I can't
best
get my
level.
flow back. Okay.
Okay, let's go. I'm just gonna keep this thing extended all the time.
Yeah, I guess
good.
so. Oh my goodness.
Woo! Oh no!
It's so interesting to watch
No,
you
no,
like
no,
zip
no,
around
no.
between each. That's great.
Oh.
How are you all still alive? Oh, there we go.
I don't know. Pure coincidence.
Oh! Stop to this. Oh, this is gonna be so satisfying. Yeah.
There's just a random maze
I
hanging
cannot
around.
control anything anymore. Okay.
Yeah, have fun with that. Please run into it. Oh, cow! Oh yeah!
Ah.
Posthumous death. The silver crown.
How
Oh!
many levels are there?
Ouch.
Oh, you gotta watch out. That
Oh,
first
here I
step is a doozy. Oh, Joey!
The jukes.
Ah!
Oh,
Come back. I demand to be the only crown wearer. No!
Why did I jump in there with you?
Oh.
One of the feedbacks that I've gotten that I agree with, but I haven't figured out entirely, is people tell me like the first time they see that glass, they think it's ice.
Yeah.
And I think by the way it interacts, it's like pretty clear eventually, like that it's glass. But I have yet to figure out like how to like show that off as like that is glass. It's not ice.
Right.
It's just like it's a clear block. What?
Well, the question is do you want to either change the visuals to make it more obvious, or do you just want to make it a little slippery and just let people not worry about it?
It's both. Everyone's right.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, is it time to switch games again?
Well, getting close to 8 o'clock. It's really up to. I mean, you could play this on and on. There's no
end.
We have plenty of time.
Yeah, but I was wondering what other games we have coming up, or if we want to.
Lane, what does the rest of our night look like?
All right, so the rest of the night is really there's just I wanted to ask the panel here for some thoughts on the controls that I'm putting together for a game that I'm working on. Very very incomplete little thing, but that's the one thing that I have left on the menu for the night.
Mm-hmm. Well, let's take a couple minutes then to talk about the experience you all had playing Flailure. And we had feedback going around as we played, but let's give it some more chat before we move on. What do you say?
Yeah,
sure.
I'm gonna go with I'm not very good at this game, but it is fun. I like how quickly the levels end, because then I'm not sitting there dead for a long time, and I get to crush people with walls.
Yeah, I would say that is perhaps not just that you get to be a wall, because there are other games where players they have ghost powers of some variety. It's not common, but it's not uncommon either, I should say. But I think what's unique about this is that plus how fast the rounds move really makes a player who is going to take them a while to learn the controls. It gives them they're spending so little of the game without anything to do. And that is, I think, one of the challenges of a multiplayer game that I think this game does not have. So, major kudos to that.
Good.
Foundationally, the design solves that problem in a way so few games have been able to.
Oh, did I just left?
that was definitely one of the first problems we saw with the game when we were playtesting it and bringing it to conventions. Is people would, when they died, set their controller down.
Yeah.
And then next round they go pick it up real quick, and there still were pretty short rounds back then too. But that was just such a fundamental problem that I'm I gotta add something in between here just to keep them holding the thing.
Yeah.
And you ended up adding something that's almost more fun than being alive. I love crushing people with the wall.
Yeah.
It also does that thing where it reinforces the party game style, which is to say you don't get to be the wall unless you die. And that is a fun feature of the game, that if you're awesome at it all the time, that is denied you. And so that prevents players from getting too invested in winning, I think.
Yeah.
I also it seems like you could get really good at this game.
So good,
right?
Because
all the little nuances in the controls, but at the same time, you can kill people in this game by just shooting your flail. You know, it's got something for everyone.
Yeah.
Oh.
That was a great double kill there.
It's so simple, and then also as a new player, you're just gonna randomly get some kills just from moments like that you're not gonna get as frustrated, and you got the ability to get revenge on people with the wall. So defensive play is also dealt with. And yeah, I could totally see you mentioned that you don't see competitive Flailure being a thing. But the fact that the movement and the attack are tied together and they both benefit each other is such a good thing for competitive games. It just makes it so friggin' deep.
Yeah, I would definitely love to see this played competitively. That'd be really impressive to watch, I think.
At the very least, a tournament would be very funny.
Yeah,
that's true.
So Zach, when you were designing this game, did you and any of your contemporaries making it did you guys get really really good at the game? What does super deep level Flailure look like?
It's the combat tends to get a lot closer, and it's just a lot more dodging and like blocking and really defensive play for the most part. Because you can once you miss a shot, tends to be when you die. So like the real like high level play that is probably just between me and the other developer Dalton on this is it really just like we're both kind of positioning, and then one of us will like shoot it like in a way that like it lands in front of them or hits them instead of behind them, and then like trying to like slide back up or pull it back to yourself really quick before they get it, and just a bunch of shots like that, or shooting it too far and then having to like bait the other player into shooting to jump over them and get your flail back. It's just a lot of close combat stuff. I feel like.
Which Dalton is it that you worked with on this game?
Dalton Meir. He hasn't went to a ton of the GDA meetings. He just recently moved down to the city.
I don't think I've had the pleasure of meeting him, actually.
Yeah, he's been to a couple of them, but and a few of the most of the cons that Flailure was at.
If Dalton the developer isn't from around here, how did you meet him and decide to work on this game?
Please.
I met him when I lived up in Alexandria, and then I moved down here.
Yes.
And he eventually followed me to presumably get this game development thing together.
Okay. So one question that seems like one of the most obvious design questions that you guys must have had early on is whether you could extend the spikes after they had been retracted. What made you guys decide not to do that?
I think I tested it out once, but like that was the initial design, and I've stuck with it. I think that like there's some interesting stuff with being able to re-extend the spikes, but the big trade-off with shooting your flail is once it sticks, it's done. Mm-hmm. You can't pull back and kill somebody. So that once you're shot out, you're vulnerable. And like, I think like making it so you can like pull back, let go, and then pull in with your spikes is just too all the time. You're too deadly all the time, and then never gives you that opportunity to go in at somebody who's stuck.
Well, what about making extending and deploying two actions? So you only get one deployment, but you shoot the flail out, and then it rolls along whatever, and then you can extend the spike rather than being extended when you shoot it out.
What about having a pile of animal costumes in the corner from everybody's death?
I love that.
I don't feel like they're dead bodies. They float around too easy.
Yeah. I mean, you wouldn't want it to feel like a bunch of like weighty, bloody corpses, right? This is so much nicer.
Yeah.
A recent change made them even goofier. We were having an issue where because they're not networked, they all but they used to affect the flail, so like you'd shoot your flail into a bunch of bodies and like it would stop your flail, but realized a little too late that like on multiplayer, if a body got in the way, the only person who could see the bodies was the server that affected everybody. So like on the client ends, they'd shoot their flail and they would just stop dead somewhere, and they would. So I made it so that they don't affect anything else's physics, and it makes them just go flying. And I was gonna tune it down and add some more weight to it, and I'm like, nah, that's kind of funny.
Yeah.
People getting better and better at like
right.
dodging and like quick movement is so satisfying. Like Joey was doing some dodges there that he just couldn't do early on, but like just effortlessly got away from me there.
Yeah, I guess something I don't think about is I don't tend to move like with the joystick very much.
Interesting.
I tend to shoot the flail and just slide because it's faster.
Sure, but like you must use your body to make the flail move farther, right?
Yeah, like when you first to shoot it out really long.
Yeah.
And like set up that, but like the majority of my movement is just pulling in with the flail.
Oh,
and
God. Okay, that's where I want to be. It just seems so cool. Yeah, this game seems a lot like N to me, where it's just like it's very, very simple, but it seems like it could be incredibly deep. I think that one of the biggest challenges it has is it's just like requires that little bit more investment because the controls feel initially like they're going to be very hard to understand.
Yeah, definitely. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
That was, and like I said, that is a big turnoff to a few players who just don't want to put that in and just don't like how it feels, and that's just a trade-off that we've made. We wanted it that is the goal of the game. Essentially, that was the mission statement. Is we wanted controls that were complex and not super loose, but just really wonky.
So one of the things I liked, I like about the flails is when the spikes go out, they're pink, and I think that does a really good job of making them obvious. They don't blend into the background at all. But you are immune to your own flail, which is of course you are. But it's the same color as all the others. So when there's that one level we played a while back where everybody was sort of swinging around each other, kind of almost weaving and ducking and weaving.
Come here. We gotta try to do that again.
Yeah.
It's not quite as dangerous as it appears because only 2 of the 3 out there will actually kill you. But even when you're playing, you don't always. It could be easy to lose track of it. So that's my long preamble to saying, why aren't the flails color coded?
Okay,
per player?
shooting at me. So 3, 2, 1.
I don't have a real smart answer for that one. That one, it's just something I think I tried it out once and it was okay. I didn't want to put a lot of time into that. It's just that you're connected to a giant rope pointing to your own flail. And I guess maybe I don't feel it as much as a new player anymore, so it's hard for me to really get that judgment as to how hard it is. But I don't remember the last time I lost my own flail. Again, I have played Flailure more than anyone on the planet. So,
well, there's other benefits to it. Let me pitch you on it, I guess.
Okay.
When I'm running around, and I see a flail coming near me, I want to know who's coming for me. You know what I mean?
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I want to know who killed me, and following that line back is an extra burden that maybe. I mean, it's not. There's no disadvantage necessarily to the player, but there's something about knowing. Oh, I just dodged one, and but then there's to the party game feel. Oh, I just dodged one from you. You know.
Okay. Yeah. No, I get that. Yeah. That's
and then
good
just
visceral it's their flail, not just a flail.
And then just thematically, if for no other reason, running into my own flail doesn't kill me, which is obvious, and there's nothing weird about that. But it looks exactly the same as every other flail, so there's something a little strange about that. Whereas if it was color coded, then there might it sizzles just a little bit less, if that makes any sense.
Yeah. Yeah.
What a great jargon term. Oh, see you guys. There we go. Yeah. Hey, I'm not the horse that just backstabbed you. I'm a giraffe.
And and rather than color coding the spikes, maybe color coding the ball might be the softer way to introduce that without worrying about things like which colors read better against a background.
Yeah. That was actually a big part of the design of the flail originally, is that I wanted it to be because the sides are bright and the background's dark, and so I wanted the center of the ball to be a dark color and the outside of the ball to be a light color, so that it just always works and I didn't have to think about it too much.
Yeah.
Which is I realized about halfway through the development these the exact opposite of almost every single platformer or game from this perspective is the backgrounds are almost always bright and the foregrounds are always dark.
Well, it really works here because it's it's like white hot danger, so I think it fits the mechanics. Aside from it just does the job of having contrast, I think that's the right choice.
Yeah, I like how it turned out. It just intuitively I knew that one of these had to be bright, one of these had to be dark, and I didn't think about it and didn't even look at it obviously dark for the background. You want a nice color that doesn't hurt the eyes for the majority of the screen. And it's just later that I looked and saw that nobody else does that.
Yeah.
I thought I fixed that one.
I was trying to hide.
It was very convincing.
Oh, did we accidentally start a match and we're just going to play it out because why not?
Or was it not an accident?
the mark of a good party game. Oh, I guess we gotta play it now.
Yeah.
Uh-oh. I accept my fate.
So when we were playing our first round of this, I had thought that it was kind of a last man standing sort of thing each round.
Ooh, but it's way more about your kills.
Yeah.
So actually, I feel like me dying to this wall is great. There we go. Nice.
Yeah, how was that decision made?
Denied a kill.
Oh no,
Or
it's
was
one I
it,
can't
did you
get
always
out of.
intend for it to be like that?
No, initially it was like a Super Smash Bros. Live system where you played to 3 on a map. So it definitely didn't start out like this. That was the live system has probably gotten the
Wait, I
second
have
most
3
iteration
kills.
of the game.
Joey has 1, and yet he is tied with me. I am outraged.
Ah!
I guess I shouldn't have been the king.
Like there is definitely advantage to it is definitely more intuitive just inherently to have it be a last man standing thing because
Here goes.
you didn't die. That's like
Yeah.
that's a success there.
Mhm.
And like that's exciting and it makes you feel like you win that
Jump
round.
down there.
But when we tested that out, it was just a lot of very defensive play and like it really went against the fast rounds, having people
People are
try and have
joking.
everybody else fight.
Stop taking my place.
I want people going for each other and going for the king.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So you.
Oh.
Uh-oh, I
yeah.
did not play that very well. No! Crocodile, no.
Ah!
I considered giving points to the person who survived, but I felt like that would again go and unbalance that like the player who's winning the most is the one who's going to survive the longest and the one surviving the longest, so it's just going to push it more into the favor of the best player
Yeah.
who already has an advantage for being the best player.
Oh, what is this next level? Jeez. Oh, I guess we're just done.
It's the end.
Hooray! Hooray! Welcome to my kingdom.
The real high level play is me and Dalton have gotten very good at killing people as they spawn onto their throne and then taking the throne.
Ah!
Right, because who cares what the game says? If you're sitting on the throne, you're the winner.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's how it works.
Yes, the end of 2020 in a nutshell.
All right. Shall we take a gander at Lane's game?
Yeah, let's take a
Yeah.
peek.
I think I'll return to the Twitch chat for now, but thanks for
Sounds
having me on,
good.
guys.
Yeah,
Sure.
thanks for being here.
Keep playing.
Okay. So when we say game, I just want to set people's expectations. There is
Okay, let's look at your prototype.
perfect.
All right,
Thank you
I'll
very
be
much.
at the
Is that
wheel
better?
here.
Okay.
Yeah. So the only thing, because like this, I have like a ton of like data and logic and such on the backside, but we're not going to make excuses here. What we're here for is helping me. So what I'm wondering is, from you people who have played digital word games and like Scrabble type stuff in the past, what is the most intuitive, best way to do these tile manipulation? Currently, there's 3 ways to input tiles. You can drag them from your hand to the board.
I like
you can
that.
click it in your hand and set it and then tap where you want it on the board. And then you can also do keys from 1 to 5, and it will correspond with the tiles in your hand.
Oh, okay. So I was trying to drag it all the way. I'm not letting go.
And that will work. You can like set it down.
No, I know, but visually, it doesn't look like it's going to work.
Ah.
That is a little
You're
confusing, yeah.
Yeah, you're highlighting this tile instead of moving the tile to the side.
Yeah, if I click, and
Yep.
now I'm not holding the mouse down, so this
Yes.
makes a little more sense. But what I initially was doing is I'm clicking and dragging,
That's
and I'm
what
like,
I
oh,
would
it's
do
not working. It's
first,
not
too.
making it to the board. It must not work.
Can you please spell
Gotcha.
the word tile?
Okay.
I think you could do one of 2 things to like smooth that out. And well, working very similar to that is having like a ghost letter where you've put it, and then 2, like putting a white square around the one you've selected, even when you're dragging, just to like make that connection.
Well, honestly,
oh,
what
oh.
you really should be doing is that when the tile shrinks, just attach it to my cursor,
Yeah.
and then I can put it
Yeah.
back. You know what I mean? because you've already got the animation kind of working there. Just make it small, attach my cursor, and I can put it back.
I think that oh man, like I feel like you might want like a ghost version attached to your cursor or something. But yeah, I like that's very useful for me to hear. The thing to like maybe keep in mind is that like you can and you can also hit backspace. Is that like there will be like a bunch of board features, and so you would want to be able to see those under the tile that you're gonna place. But I guess that like I'm probably like being way too precious about that. Like you probably don't need to see the stuff that's immediately under the tile because you were just looking at it a moment ago.
Yeah.
What's the target platform?
Are you ever going to be stacking tiles on top of tiles?
Yes, this is an upward
no,
scenario.
No. This is not upward at all. It is it is Scrabble. If there are going to be more tiles placed, it's going to be because like a like enemy attack or something is going to destroy tiles on the board.
Okay. Are you gonna spell a word, Mark?
I don't know. I'm throwing letters because, like Lane was saying, this is a UI demo at this point. So
Yeah. The game logic is like very like not like visible at the moment.
no
Okay.
no diagonals. I'm learning.
Okay. Hit undo and see what that does.
Right. So backspace also works. When I place a tile, I can right click it and that will go. So there's a couple of different modes, which is good for a game like this. One thing that's interesting is when I put this here, then that locks into place.
Yes.
Now I can only play things here, or here, I'm imagining.
Oh yeah.
And
you can actually play stuff that is anywhere on the like horizontal or vertical, because you would want to be able to say like if there was a word that was vertical next to it, you would want to be able to flank it like you can in Scrabble.
Okay, so that's a little like nothing in the UI is telling me any of that right now, so I can't place here. I can't say I'm going to try something new, partly because there's not a lot of words on the board here right now, so it's not like I'm interacting with anything that exists. But like I don't like this doesn't make any sense to me. Like why I can do that but can't do this.
Why you can't do diagonal? Well,
yeah, I mean the rules are sound. It's just visually I don't know why I'm allowed to place a tile here and here.
Yeah.
And now that I've chosen horizontal, I can no longer place tiles this way.
Definitely adding that to my list. Yeah, I think that giving the user a lot of like feedback as to the choices that you've made so far, what that's locking you into.
Yeah, so if I click here, maybe then highlight both rows here, and that becomes the possible tiles. And then once I place this here, then this one disappears, and it's just these. That might be a good way to do it. Yeah.
You got it. Yeah. That sounds really good.
Okay, so what I'm getting from the little things above the I said above really long. Above the tiles is that each one will give you different points. So like that L will give you 5 defense or shields.
Yes, you got it. Yeah, 5 temporary block. So
they're temporary blocks.
Yeah, so what the shields do is they block damage that your enemy will do to you on its next turn.
Okay.
Is this Slay the Spiral Scrabble?
100%. And so the complexity branch that I got thwacked with that I was telling you about is I was busy implementing tiles that have multiple letters on them, and that's taking quite a while.
Oh.
So I can't rearrange tiles on the board on the thing, so that.
I'm thinking like, would that be a thing that you'd want to be able to do, like drag a tile to the left or something and have it swap places with another in your hand?
Yes.
It is. I would never buy this game if it didn't have that feature. Like I would never get used to it.
Have you not seen people rearrange their tiles on their little Scrabble stands?
It's like a core feature, I think.
Good point. Thank you. Because your average like deck builders do not have that feature, and I really think that would be super awesome here. So thank you for suggesting that.
Now the thing is that ultimately a game like this, because it's single player, doesn't need it because you can do your brainstorming here on the board. Right, but
I disagree.
players will instinctually want to do it down here because they don't want to bank their choice. Even without the bias of playing Scrabble or something where that was learned, I think people want to, like playing poker. You want to like rearrange your hand before you play it, even if you can undo it, if that makes sense.
Oh, I was going to say I disagree with that. I think that even though it's one player, it's nice to be able to rearrange your letters because if you're only playing 2 letters this term, you might have the end of another word. So you might
that makes
end
sense.
it being it, and then you're like, I'm waiting for whatever, or
Right.
I'll, or ent, you know, being like, I'm waiting for another T so I can spell tent.
Right. So everything I said, but then Dale's justification on top of that, because she's absolutely right. Like, that's another reason why you'd want to be able to sort these. I wasn't considering that at all.
Link, can you talk us through play a little bit? So is this where you start in the game?
Yeah. So the way things would work out is you would like when you come to a combat scenario, you would be able to so you'll have like a character class, and the character class would have a bag of tiles that have different effects. As you can see, the effects that these have are real simple. There's not anything complicated about what these tiles do.
Daggers and shields.
Yep, absolutely. So when you enter a fight, you might like have like the first fight of the game. I just have pictured in my head for some reason. You're fighting against a little skeleton guy, and so the board will have some sort of like thematic elements related to what the enemy has. So in the skeleton's case, it's a really basic enemy. So you might just have like some stuff some tiles you can capture on the board that would like give you extra defense or something like that. What's going to happen is the enemy will have a attack that's going to signal at you. So it's going to say like, I'm going to play a word and do you 10 damage. And so you, with the tiles in your hand, will try to damage the enemy and also try to block any damage that it has incoming at you that turn. When you kill it, you collect a reward. You like add a tile to your bag. You get to choose like one of a few options, and then you move on to the next fight.
Okay, do you get refills of letters from your bag, or are you stuck with these same 5 letters?
You do. So when you play, like for example, you use the word like lent here. What you play those for, then you would discard any extra tiles that you have right now, and then you would draw from your bag to replenish your hand, replenish back to 5.
So you end up getting new tiles every single time.
Yes, you do. At least that's the way I'm currently picturing it. I may, because a lot of the stuff in this game, a lot of the design decisions are sort of balanced around like, do I lean more into what Scrabble people are comfortable with or what deck builder people are comfortable with? And I may end up leaning on the other side of that one, where I would like let you keep your tiles from the previous round. I'm not sure on that, but I think you would discard them.
So, you. Like Scrabble balances their point system around how complicated the tiles are, or the letters are to play. Are you gonna like do power level of the card based on that, or is 100%.
That? So like if you, and also those have like a little bit higher like complexity budget. So you as like this paladin character might have like a Z card that has, or a Z tile that has the Zeal ability, and while that's on the board, all your tiles do more damage or something like that.
Ooh.
So the harder to play letters will have bigger effects, and then additionally, I'm sort of picturing having not only having like difficult letters, but also if you had like a tile that had like SP on it. Then that would take up two spaces on the board. It would be extra big, so it would be better at like claiming territory to get you towards the bonus spaces. But it's real hard to play. So it would also, like if you have SP, that's going to be worth like extra damage or something if you play that.
I would play it as spin or spine.
Exactly. Yeah. And so like you would have to like look for like, do you have space for that? But yes. I think the SP in particular is one that's not going to be that hard. Maybe if I had like CH or something, that would be like a little harder, or like a PH.
Yeah, because I would be like
fish. No.
I'm like Phil.
Oh man, I am digging this artwork here we have. Oh, look at our robust chin. This is fantastic.
One of the things that I like about deck builders more than the thing that I like most about a lot of the new deck builders coming out is they let you not just get new cards, but modify and buff your existing cards. Do you have any plans for that, or are you going to keep it simple?
Yes. So totally. Like I want to keep the basic cards very, very simple because I would love to have things like that. I think that one in particular that I'm really looking forward to is being able to add flex to your existing tiles. So, for example, you like would come across something and it lets you add like an E to any tile. And what that you could do it like where it adds like an E and like adds that to the end of the tile, or it could add like you now have like a Q/E, and you could just play it as an E instead of a Q if you want to. That kind of thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, I definitely have like been working double time on the data structure here. It makes it much more complicated, but yes, so that you can modify tiles in your bag midway through the game.
Okay, talk to me a little bit about. I'm gonna go with the stack of 3 cards on the left that are red, and then the Nintendo bag with 4 buttons on the right.
Awesome. So yeah, I mean, so like this was a tiny tip off to Zach, I'm sure, but that is just like the graphical display for the your draw pile and your discard pile. I mean, all those really is they're the places where your tiles come from, and then the places where you discard tiles at the end of your turn. You could also click on those to see what tiles you have left to draw and what tiles you've discarded already.
Okay. This is early, so I was going to like this is not a criticism, but like right now your stack of discarded tiles, like okay, I keep calling them tiles, but if you want them to be cards, I think I keep calling them tiles because they're kind of that beige color like wood in Scrabble.
And I am super happy that you're calling them tiles because they are definitely tiles. They are not cards.
Okay.
I have myself slipped up on that a couple of times, but no, the term that's going to be used throughout the game is tiles.
So it's a tile building game.
It's a bag building game.
A bag building game. Okay, very nice.
100%. Yeah.
Okay, so what I'm getting from that pile is definitely the feeling of cards. So maybe adding. Yeah, so this is just an art critique, which is way too early in the
sure. Yeah, but that's helpful.
It's getting better by the moment.
Oh my goodness, I've got okay. So now I'm fighting against a skeleton and a scorpion, and I like one thing that I've sort of had in my mind that I think is could be cool in this. I'm not totally sure, but it's that like if there's 2 enemies, then maybe the way that the targeting in the game works is you don't choose an enemy. It's just if you play a tile on the left side of the board, it attacks the left enemy, and if you play on the right side of the board, it attacks the right enemy or the upper and lower enemy in this case.
That's great.
Can you play? Again, okay, so when your enemy plays, are they playing the tiles in the same direction that you are, or are they upside down compared to yours?
Okay, great. Yeah, great question. So the enemies have at least this is my like idea going into this. I'm just starting to prototype this now, which is oh my god, it's it's so cool. So the enemies would have like next to them or on top of them someplace, they would show you what they're about to do. So the skeleton might be like, I'm gonna bop you for 10 damage, and what it would do basically is it might have 10 at like 10 damage it wants to attack you, and then it would also show you the like length of word it wants you to play. If it can play a word of that length from its like little like enemy dictionary, then it'll go ahead and successfully damage you. But if it can't do that, in other words, if you block it by playing like defensively, if you play it by blocking off the board too much, then the enemy would do nothing on its turn, or it might even take some damage. Still very much just thinking through that at the moment, because that might make like super defensive play too strong.
Yeah.
That's interesting. I didn't expect that they would play anything. What made you choose that?
Oh man, so I Zach, like that's actually a great question. It's like, do they even need to play something? I think that like for me that was sort of a feel thing where I feel like when I'm playing against somebody and playing Scrabble, a big part of the feel for me is interacting with the stuff they put down. Like, aha, you set me up for this great situation, or ooh, you're closing off the board. So something that really like I've had in mind as for like developing the enemy personalities is that like let's say you play like a lava hound or something. It might play like fast and loose with like big words that really open up the board quickly. But if you play against like the Iron Juggernaut or something, it might play a very defensive board that tries to like create squares and like clusters. And so its personality would be all about the words that it plays. but I don't know if that is worth the level of like complexity that enemies playing words would add to the game. The other thing that's kind of a cute thing in my mind is thinking that like enemies could have their own like little dictionary of like sort of funny words related to them. So like a minotaur might like playing beef or like sirloin or something. But like I don't know if that's worth the added work that would add.
Yeah,
I think it would be
that
fun though.
sounds hard.
I think that's
If you-
super worth it.
If you do that, I think you should consider showing what word they're trying to play over just the amount, just as like a prototype thing, because I feel like you're not hurting the experience by like showing the players exactly what they can block, because they can think through their move and like I can play here and stop them from playing this word and getting this buff, or I can play the word I want to play.
So in my I'm gonna use some air quotes here, paper prototype, because I broke out the Scrabble board for this. That was honestly, honest to goodness, that was the first thing that I thought of. That like I would have the enemy, like the skeleton is gonna play ribs or something, and it was just so easy to block them if I knew what word they were gonna do. Most of the time, that I thought that made it too easy for the player.
Okay.
It made it so that instead of trying to like place my stuff in a favorable order for me, the only thing I really had to care about then was preventing the enemy words. So like maybe that wouldn't be the case if there were multiple enemies that you were playing against, but with one it was very powerful. But good question though. I think that if there was a way to do that wasn't like make that the dominant strategy, I would definitely be interested in that. Because having like the enemy say, I'm going to play like some four-letter word is also kind of clunky. I think that maybe it's possible the enemy would just try to play a word, and then if it could, it would execute its effect.
Okay, yeah, that's an interesting issue you got there. Definitely a tough one.
Another question about what you're allowed to do. So are you allowed to play off your words that are already down? So like for example, if fire was there and it was differently positioned on the board, could you add to that and now it's firefight?
Oh, okay, 100%. Yeah. So any rule for playing a word off of another word, like in Scrabble, should work in a very familiar way. That's kind of like a like main design pillar here, which is it should be a game that people who are familiar with Scrabble or Words with Friends can approach.
Okay.
Can you play two words in one turn?
You totally can, yeah, and so like if you were to play like a bunch of like two words parallel to each other, but they create a bunch of like small like 2-letter words off of each other, you could totally get like your tiles to have multiple effects that way.
Okay, so once your tiles are on the board, they will still show your swords and shields.
So no. And that is the biggest departure that I made in my design from Scrabble so far, which is once a tile is on the board, it doesn't have any instantaneous effects anymore. The only effects that tiles on the board have is they can have permanent effects. So like that Z tile I was telling you about, the zeal that the paladin might have, that thing would have like as long as it's on the board, you're gonna have like plus some amount of strength, and so your stuff does more damage.
Okay, so I am going to suggest that maybe how you get a feel for this is just building a simple Scrabble game, or just using a Scrabble game and pretending to be a skeleton and playing against somebody. Or building it in Tabletop Builder so somebody knows how to do that.
Ooh. Well, that's a pretty good preview of next month, Dale, where you and I are going to get way over our head coding and re-ravel. That's gonna be exciting.
Oh boy. My trick was to trick you into learning it first and then just doing it together where you do most of the work.
I think, and this is something that Ben and I were talking about, because Ben is also making a game that has like similar like sort of collection effects. They're so flexible once you get the base like rule set down, that I think iterating off of it is going to be not a big problem. And I'll definitely be wanting to like bring this back to future playtests and ask you guys, okay, what do you think of these rules that I've chosen? Should I try other stuff?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So how do you collect more tiles to put into your tile bag collection builder? collection?
Oh, splendid question. So like as Zach was asking me, like I'm definitely patterning a ton of this game off of an existing one. Ooh, I like that like board feature that you're creating there. That's looking really good. I definitely need to have some stuff like that. So like the core one, Dale, for sure that I'm gonna do. I'm playing around with a whole bunch of like how the game is structured, the like campaign is structured, but when you defeat enemies, you'll definitely get to pick. Probably you'll be able to pick like one tile of 3 to add to your bag.
Okay, another question. Is there a way for you to discard tiles out of your bag? Like, if you're just a person who doesn't know any Z words, taking it out, or really, for example, like putting all your effort toward one vowel or words that end in E, that kind of thing.
Great. Yes. And yeah. I would say that that is a like pretty common feature in the genre, and I'll definitely be finding like some ways to do that.
All right.
I
good.
think that like weirdly, because I've been playing this game that August and Marty suggested called Hardback, and it has like some similar mechanics to this. And getting rid of tiles in this game is kind of weaker than it is in a lot of this type of genre, just because like I's and A's and like weak cards like that here are actually like pretty useful to you.
Yeah,
So
they're super useful.
definitely gonna be thinking about that a lot. But I'm like trashing, like permanently getting rid of cards in this game might be a little bit cheaper than cards in other games of the genre. But yeah, I think that like yes. And I'm also wondering like should there be tiles that get added to your bag that are like kind of like a curse, like they're like kind of hard to play, hard to get rid of.
Yeah.
Or things that that risk reward benefit you in some way, but then have a expected cost that is a risk, but you're in dire straits now, so it's worth taking.
Definitely.
Technical question: where do you get the dictionary? Like, is that a specific?
Oh yeah. So the dictionary, I just went with the Scrabble dictionary 5th edition, but I am going to be doing some research on like how legal that is. There are definitely like some free use dictionaries out there, but basically you can get like a ton of different dictionaries just as a gigantic like 200,000+ like word text file, and then I just have like parse that into it like when the game loads.
So are you technically, are you relying on a service that can remain updated and gets corrections, or are you downloading something that then ships with the game?
Ooh, I am currently downloading something that ships with the game. I'm considering seeing if I can like pay for. I don't know if I would like want to have like to require any sort of like internet access, but like what I'm thinking about is like the thing that I have is just a list of all words. But it would be cool to have a list of words that then had a dictionary with it as well. So if a user wanted to look at a history or something in the game, they could see, oh, I played like A, and the game let me get away with that. I don't understand what word that is, so I'm gonna look that up, and the game would have that, and that has some value to me.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, thank you, folks. This has been really useful. When you suggested me bring this in for like just a extremely early prototype, I was like skeptical. I didn't know what the value was, but these have been some really good questions. Thank you, everybody.
Yeah, well, it's interesting because like here, let me switch back to the actual thing here.
Yeah.
You have and this is definitely the case when you're a one-person team or a very small team, where you have multiple tracks, right? That your design and like code architecture and UI and art and like all that stuff, and you tend to move along them at different rates, and like so you have some like interesting polish here, for example, where the thing is moving. And so you want feedback on that, but then at the same time, you have these design questions, which are like at different states. And so it can be more so, I think, than at other scales, having something as soon as possible can give you a lot of value, because you're going to get a lot of different feedback in different areas that you necessarily, like, you're further along on something than something else. And so even though all together it feels like it's very early going, there are certain things that you're starting to lock in on in certain ways that you want to get some ideas, especially as they interrelate with other elements. So this is
definitely.
By a way of saying, like, well done, Lane, for putting yourself out there with this prototype, but also for folks listening and watching, like, really, we want to take a look at anything you got, you know?
Yep. Totally.
Oh yeah, because it's like the later the game is, the more like flashy like gameplay it's kind of produced. But the earlier it is, the more value we're going to get as like playtesters to be able to actually change the direction of that boulder as it starts rolling down the hill. Tell me.
I'm like, just like, what can I make out of this?
Press set. Let's see what that does. It does nothing. Okay.
Well, I'll have to bring something in early in a month or two.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, sweet.
Immediately starting on something else now that this one's done.
Wow. Same. Okay. Well, what else was I gonna suggest?
Intel is a word, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Is this just
Not
you, like?
The game is gonna let you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, like one of the reasons why it's like kind of valuable to have this come in at this early point is the feel of placing tiles is so important to this, because you're going to be doing it so much. So it's really good to get feedback on that. I wouldn't have thought
some
about
Z
like,
fighting.
Yup. Yeah, I think that when you place a vertical word, the like effects are going to have to like go off to the left or something.
Well, alternately, you can just put these parts on in a different category and give them programmatically. You can give them a different Z order. You know.
Oh, good point. Good point. Yeah.
Although, you know, looking at this, you can see that the 5 kind of bleeds away, sort of, and you know, maybe you want to put them in the corner to make them a little bit more like Scrabble tiles. But then to fit anything in here, you want to have less rounded corners. Like, everything is related to everything else. You'll figure it out.
I was just thinking, put the 6 to the left and the symbol to the right.
Oh, have them separated?
Yeah, around the letter, because most of the
Yeah,
letters
it depends on the communication you want, right? Like, is a point value itself information without the type of point it is? In which case, it would be nice to not that they're going to be far apart or anything, or never delivered together, but is there value to saying this is worth 4? For what? For this. You know what I mean? In terms of like how you digest that information. Or is like 4 attack and 4 defense complete so separate that you have to have them glued together for them to have any value at all, you know?
Yeah, I think probably the latter. I think that you would really want to have both.
Yeah. I will say,
so maybe I could like color
this tracking is very charming, but I think it's sending a lot of messages that you don't want to send. Because all it says is that this is selected. And you can accomplish that in any number of ways, like having it just slot up and stay put, or bounce, or just have a highlight around it. But being tracked to my current, it's like, where should I place it? Its movement is not related to my activity. In terms,
kind of makes it feel like it's gonna launch, like you're gonna bobble it.
That's ultimately why I was trying to, like, now I'm clicking and holding. Like, that's ultimately why I was like, why isn't it? It's not going. You know what I mean?
Ooh, okay, yeah. So maybe like ghosting it out or something as you drag it, and just like let you drag it so it's like in your hand as you place it on the board would be better.
Or I have a large Windows cursor here that I've set for the purposes of this this stream. But
it
certainly
looks
you could
giant
have
on his actual screen.
Right. Certainly you could have custom icons in the game, and then when you select it could be let's actually grab.
For sure. One alternative is certainly for it to like for the tile to just like sort of pulse or something, or like have like an outline around it, but then for it to project a big like curved arrow or something onto the board, like toward your cursor.
Yeah. Just something like this. That's kind of it's contextual, right? And then you move that around, or something like that. I don't know. but also I can't undo this right now. I can hit backspace, but nothing I do with the mouse will let me undo this.
Oh,
That's
okay.
helpful.
That's just a slight, based on all the other interaction. Streamers are not going to know any of this because they don't see what I'm doing on the keyboard or with the mouse. But that's a case where once I place it, then there's undo, there's backspace, there's right click. But when I'm selecting it, the only way I can unselect it is, actually, I can, if I put it back, if I slowly put it back in place and then left click. Nope, never mind.
Oh,
If I select,
Gotta commit.
if I select something else, perhaps. Ooh, look, they're dancing. Yeah, there's just this is a case, and Lane, you are a adherent to the Church of Juice, and so, but there's definitely a case where the juice can head you down the wrong path. I think.
You're absolutely right.
In this particular case, it's such a neat effect, but that on the other hand, you can lean into it more. It's just right now it's not vibing. But if you wanted to go that direction, then I think you've walked out on that plank, and so you just got to start building more plank.
Quick question for you: Would you be willing to try placing a word using the keyboard? So do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to move those?
Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We'll select it.
Yeah, and just tell me what you think about that.
Well, I like that. I mean, I like it. I don't know that. It depends on the rest of the experience. Like, do I need to have an MMO style selector? Am I going to be wanting to make that efficient of a play? For example,
of course.
We play Civilization 6 together, or we had before Dale beat us. But
yeah,
and that's a game where it has keyboard shortcuts. But when I play that game, I only ever play with the mouse and the left click. I never use the right click. I very much limit it so that I can't make any mistakes, and so I don't have to remember anything. This feels already, at least, and certainly the way you've described how the game would move forward, it feels like a game where I don't need to optimize my input. Certainly having a keyboard option is good for accessibility and options, but I don't know how much it's in terms of power users need to be serviced by that, if that makes any sense. So instead, what I could have is just use arrow keys and enter could be all I need, instead of having hotkeys assigned, if that makes sense.
Mark, you and I had discussed for a hot minute last Saturday, whether this game could benefit from stuff to sort of boot people on the snoot so they don't spend a lot of time analyzing what they could do. Yeah. So, for example, we had discussed the possibility of there being a time limit or rewards for playing more quickly. And I sort of wonder, I guess Zach, since you're a person who has played games in this genre, you've played some Monster Train, some Slay the Spire. What do you think if there was a mechanic every 30 seconds the enemy gets stronger or something that makes you want to play quickly? Does that hurt the game in certain ways? What do you think about that?
I hate word games. I should have admitted this up front. I love deck builders. I hate word games.
Yes.
Don't take my word as gospel here. As a deck builder fan, I absolutely hate that idea. I hate word games with timers. I don't I like to be able to think through my moves and spend a lot of time on my turns and figure out get all the information, run the stats, and then enter my turn in. I could see how somebody who is better at word games would like that. I would not.
I like that.
Oh, thank you.
I don't like sitting there forever trying to figure out my word. I'd rather put it down.
You want some motivation.
Yeah, I'm definitely a person who enjoys the blitz style of chess and Scrabble a lot more. And that's why I kind of would lean towards. But man, I do know so many. Honestly, many people who have said that the thing that Zach is talking about with those card games, being able to sit there and plan out your turn makes those games a chill respite away from other games that you play. So it makes me sort of want to have there be a speed run challenge or something, or a mode where you would race against other players or something with the same randomness seed or something. Yeah. But not necessarily want to say that the base mode of the game requires that.
And there's the difference between a count down and a count up. Or does the monster get stronger, or does your weapon get weaker over time? or
that is super interesting.
yeah, it's I mean, ultimately it's just moving different levers in different directions, and it doesn't matter, but the psychological effect is the important thing here.
Yeah, but having like a passive relic or something that gives you that is like this sword of haste, or like causes you to do tons more damage in the first like 30 seconds of a fight. I mean, I could feel that being like super good and very fun sometimes. But like I could also see it being a very not welcome addition to the game if people feel like, oh no, we gotta play in a way that I don't like.
And again, but again, you can attach it to some risk reward. So it could be that you have something in your inventory that if you select it before you see the letters that you pull, then the faster you do, it does a multiplier. There's no penalty, but then you would only spend that item because it's a consumable, let's say, if you think that you are in a position where you've got lots of good things on the board. So even if I get crappy letters, I could play something. Or I've been playing for a little while, so I don't want to rack my brain so much. So I'm going to play strategically rather than worry about my lexicographical knowledge. You know what I mean? So I'm going to this round I'll go for 3-letter words, but with good board placement. Whereas next round, because I've been playing for a while and I want to just exercise different muscles necessarily. And so you could give, depending on how your system works ultimately, like depending on the enemies that face you, like this enemy is weak to words that have more vowels. This enemy is weak to words that are played quickly. And you know what I mean? So it could give some variety to the game. And then it's up to you to balance what is normal and what is special. So normal play would be just Scrabble skills played at your leisure. And then every now and again you get thrown in some pepper, which is different rewards, different types of skills or different inventory management or speed or whatever. And then the question is I mean, my instinct is you never want anything that punishes a player, only something that rewards them. And then the only on nuts is I didn't take advantage of the thing, rather than, oh, I was disadvantaged by something because I didn't move quick enough or I didn't do something enough, But again, that's totally to taste, and it's up to the designer to decide what's important, right?
Oh, definitely, because it could be in the realm of like a portion of the game, like a quick time event or something like that. That is for whatever reason off-putting to some number of people who didn't sign up for that when they signed up for the core experience. But definitely something to talk about, because that would be such a easy thing to add in, and the leverage in terms of diversifying the player experience is very, very strong. So I see why you're inclined to think in that direction.
Yeah, and if it's certainly, I don't have a lot of experience with deck builders, but if that's the genre you're headed towards, then really it's up to the player to choose to play that way. And hopefully isn't being forced to play that way,
I think a lot of the really iconic and interesting enemies from most deck builders are ones that don't play by the rules anyway. So I'm actually, even not being into the timed thing, a enemy that in a non-timed mode who is timed is actually those things are always cool. Like the enemies that I hate the most, but also think about the most or most interested, are the ones that kind of cheat.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
100%. So that it being associated with enemies is a very, very, very tempting idea. All right. Well, thank you guys. This is fantastic, and it looks like it's about time for us to wrap up. Do you guys have anything more to say or more to do before we close out?
I don't think so. I think this is probably a good time to head out. Thanks to everybody who brought their game in. It was a lot of fun, and thanks to the folks who stuck around to play some more, including you, Zach, who made it all the way to the end of the night. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Show up late, stay to the end at least.
And I guess before we go, let's put a link in the chat so people know where they can buy Flailure, because it's available now.
Cool.
Do you, I you mentioned, you teased me with the idea of having a Flailure competition at some point. You wouldn't happen to have any sort of thing like that in the works, would you? Because man, that would be so fun to watch.
I don't, but I don't know, it'd be something to do, fun to do it like a panel at one of the cons when those happen again.
Oh, 100%. 100%. Yeah, being able to throw down with people like in person like that would just be delightful. Cool. Anything more to tease for the next episode? I mean, I am just super looking forward to Re-Ravel coming to Tabletop Simulator.
Oh, it's been set on mic. It's going to happen now, right, Dale?
Right.
Yeah, dude, this is just like what happened with Vengeance, and now it's out there and selling like hotcakes.
Well, until then, dear viewer, thanks for tuning in. Thanks, Lane, for doing the heavy lifting to get the organization for tonight. And I assume we'll see you back next month?
100%. Yeah, unless our glorious former pal Peter decides to come back. But then maybe it'll be the three of us doing it.
It'll be the three of us, or you and Peter will have to fight for second slot. We'll see how that goes.
The advantages of being married to somebody.
Yeah, Dale's just going to be here with the mic in the room. There's no stopping that.
There's no stopping that, yeah.
Well, until then, I guess... no, Dale, you have to say something clever, right? That's how we ended last time?
Yes. To infinity and beyond.
Nope.